but also some rain at times too. A bit of a murky, drizzly start across some southern counties, and whilst a lot of this rain is going to clear away, some far south-southwestern parts will stay quite grey, and there could be a bit more drizzly rain to push its way in. Otherwise, we're looking at sunny spells for many of us, but also quite a few showers, these mainly pushing their way in across parts of Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, some of them feeding into other areas too. Temperatures are going to be around or a little bit below average for some, especially towards the north, further south, nearer normal, with highs of around 15, possibly even 16 Celsius. As we go into this evening, we're going to stick with the showery theme across western parts of Scotland in particular. Some of them could be quite heavy. Further east, a little bit cloudier across some parts of Aberdeenshire and towards the far northeast of Scotland, with a few bits of rain here as well. More showers to come through this evening across parts of Northern Ireland. Plenty of showers feeding into northwest England and North Wales. Elsewhere across many parts of England and Wales, ending the day largely fine, albeit cloud and rain across the far southwest will push its way northeastwards as we go through the start of the night and becoming a bit more widespread as we go overnight as well. So central counties of England and Wales likely to be pretty cloudy and pretty wet through the early hours of tomorrow morning. Elsewhere, some clear spells here and there, yes, but also a fair few showers as well. For many, it's actually going to be a slightly chillier night than last night, more widely seeing temperatures dropping into single figures. Could get close to freezing in some sheltered spots of Scotland. As we go through tomorrow then, quite cloudy, wet at times across the southern third of the UK, more rain pushing in from the west and southwest. Further north, similar to today really, so there will be some sunny spells around, but also quite a few showers, these heaviest, most frequent across western parts of Scotland. Again, a north-south split when it comes to temperatures, cooler in the north, relatively mild further south. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps four, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Tuesday, the 27th of October. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Nana Akua.
Now, the government turns to army barracks to tackle Britain's asylum hotel crisis. Up to 900 migrants will be housed on military sites from next month, all as the Prime Minister pushes to end the $2 billion a year hotel bill. But will local communities back the move?
A bombshell blow for Rachel Reeves. The OBR is set to slash Britain's productivity forecast in what could leave a £20 billion black hole in the nation's finances, forcing the Chancellor to consider breaking Labour's tax pledge.
How long have you known about Andrew and Epstein? Have you asked the police to cover up for Andrew?
Yes, a royal visit turns tense. King Charles was heckled by a protester demanding answers over Prince Andrew's links to Jeffrey Epstein during a cathedral appearance in Staffordshire.
And that single lone protester has yet again caused Prince Andrew to overshadow the work of the royal family. Meanwhile, the siege of Royal Lodge continues. More details shortly.
Hurricane Melissa bears down on Jamaica, now a Category 5 monster. Forecasters warn that it could be the strongest storm ever to hit the island. We will have the latest.
Seriously, Sybil, do you remember when we were first manacled together? We used to laugh quite a lot.
Yes, but not at the same time, that's all.
Oh, and the wonderful actress Prunella Scales, best known for her role as Sybil in Fawlty Towers, has sadly died today, aged 93. Oh, Basil.
Oh, I used to love it, and Manuel, although that's probably not allowed anymore.
Oh, probably not.
No, you can't do that, can you, anymore?
No.
But I used to absolutely love Fawlty Towers.
It was brilliant.
Did they only make 12 of them or something?
There are so few, yes, 2 series, 6 episodes in each series.
Yeah, 12, that was all, but it felt like there were loads and loads and loads of them. That's because you could watch them again and again and again.
Absolutely. I had the DVDs as a child growing
up.
Yeah. And, no, absolutely loved them, every single bit. It's so quotable, so packed with jokes and laughter. Yeah.
Jokes that you can't get away with today.
Don't mention the war.
Whatever you do, don't mention the war. Yes, and also the accents and everything that they would do. You can't do that anymore either.
Something else that we shouldn't mention, of course, is Rachel Reeves' black hole.
Oh, well, she's doubled it, sort of thing, because she's filled it once and then opened it up again. And it's 2 billion smaller, apparently. But honestly, there comes a point where you've got to look at this and think, is she the right person for the job? Because all of the things that she's coming up with have made things worse. And can we really allow her to continue this sort of line, which doesn't seem to be working at all?
And yet you think if Rachel Reeves goes, who replaces her? Is it going to be someone more likely to raise even more tax, or someone who's willing to do the brave thing and cut spending? I can't see anyone in the front bench of the Labour Party, or even close to it, who'd be willing to make the big spending cuts that we clearly need so desperately in this country.
I mean, do you think she'd be good at it, seeing as she was in charge of complaints?
Well, goodness me, what do you think? gbnews.com/your say is the way to get involved in all of the conversations this afternoon. But of course, before all of that, let's get to your very latest news headlines with Tatiana.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. The top stories: thousands of small boat migrants will be moved out of hotels and into old army barracks. Discussions are underway over the use of 2 sites, one in Scotland, the other in the south of England, for accommodation for 900 men, as first reported in The Times. It's understood Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has instructed Home Office and Ministry of Defence officials to accelerate work to locate appropriate military sites. The move comes as the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood says she's absolutely furious that the hotels are still being used to house people coming into the country illegally. Shadow Cabinet Office Minister Alex Burkhart spoke to GB News.
When we left office, when the Conservatives left office last summer, we had the Rwanda plan in place, and the first thing that Keir Starmer did when he became Prime Minister was scrap it. the first thing he did was scrap a deterrent programme which would have meant that people who crossed the channel illegally, came to our country illegally, their feet wouldn't have touched the ground, they would have been sent to a third country for processing. That would have been a major deterrent to the gangs and to the people crossing. Instead, Labour tore that up. And here's the result. They're having to use army barracks, having to use massive army barracks to house thousands and thousands of people who've come to the country.
In other news, British tourists in Jamaica have been told to prepare as the island's strongest storm on record closes in. The Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office has set up a crisis centre ready to help Britons on the Caribbean island, and the Royal Navy ship HMS Trent is already in the region on standby. Hurricane Melissa will hit Jamaica today as a Category 5 storm, the strongest for the island since record-keeping began 170 years ago. All of Jamaica's international airports have been closed until further notice. The storm has already killed 3 people in Jamaica and 4 deaths in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper is urging Britons in Jamaica to follow the UK Foreign Office travel advice and also the Jamaican government's instructions.
Well, this is a very serious storm and many people will be concerned about friends and family in Jamaica and in the region. We've set up the crisis centre here in the Foreign Office to provide 24-hour consular assistance to British nationals, but also to monitor Hurricane Melissa and to make sure we are ready and stand ready to provide UK support to Jamaica. I've spoken to the Jamaican Foreign Minister to offer our support and solidarity to the Jamaican people as they face the storm, and I would encourage everyone to follow both the Foreign Office's travel advice and the instructions from the Jamaican government.
Roughly 14,000 corporate jobs are to go at tech giant Amazon, the company has announced. The tech giant said today it would reduce its global corporate workforce by approximately 14,000 roles, when earlier reporting had suggested it was planning to lay off as many as 30,000 workers. Beth Galetti, a senior vice president at Amazon, wrote in a note to staff external that the move would make the company even stronger. She said by shifting resources to ensure we're investing in our biggest bets and what matters most to our customers' current and future needs. And finally, actress Prunella Scales, best known for her role as Sybil in Fawlty Towers, has died at the age of 93. Her sons, Samuel and Joseph, say she died peacefully at her home in London yesterday. This year marked 50 years since the comedy show first appeared on screens. Prunella had been diagnosed with vascular dementia in 2013. Those are the latest headlines for now. More in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Here's a snapshot of the markets. The pound buying you $1.3315 and €1.1422. The price of gold, £2,931 and 27 pence per ounce. The FTSE 100 is at 9,654 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Breton. Now, a man has died after 3 people were stabbed in London. Police were called to a stabbing in Midhurst Gardens in Uxbridge at 5 p.m. yesterday. Of course, that is breaking news.
Well, to get more on this breaking story, let's speak to our Home and Security Editor, Mark White.
Yes, indeed. Reports are just coming through, really, of this incident that unfolded yesterday evening at 5 p.m. with reports of multiple stabbings at this address or near this address, Midhurst Gardens, which is Uxbridge in West London. Police paramedics attended the scene. They found a 49-year-old man suffering from serious stab injuries at the scene. Despite the best efforts of paramedics at the scene, he died there. We're told that the family have been informed they're being supported by specially trained officers. In addition to that, a 45-year-old man also suffered stab injuries. He suffered, according to the police, life-changing but not life-threatening injuries. And then a 14-year-old boy was also stabbed, but his injuries were more minor, according to the Metropolitan Police. Now, a 22-year-old man was arrested at the scene. He was tasered by police officers as they carried out that arrest. He was taken to hospital initially, but deemed not to have suffered any injuries as a result of being tasered. He's since been taken into police custody and is being questioned on suspicion of murder and attempted murder. Ongoing investigations of what are clearly a very serious set of stabbings and a murder that took place in West London. Those are all the details we have for the moment, but we're working to get more information on this, such as who this 22-year-old who is currently in custody is.
OK, Mark, on that one. Now, I just wanted to ask you about the small boat migrant conversation, because it was been suggested that actually they won't be housed in hotels now. They're going to be housed in army barracks. What more can you tell us on that?
Well, you remember the Conservative government went down the road of trying to get asylum seekers out of hotels and into more sort of basic accommodation in the likes of disused army barracks, and came up against a lot of opposition. Despite this, there are still 2 locations around the country, Wethersfield in Essex and Napier Barracks in Kent, that are being used to house asylum seekers. In fact, Wethersfield has been housing about 800, and that surged to around 1,200 during the summer months. But clearly, this government now feels that it's time to try to push again on this front and accommodate more people in barracks, get them out of the hotel system because of the great deal of concern that has been expressed right across the country at the continued use of these hotels, about the fact that mainly young men have been hanging about local communities, and there has been criminality linked to some of those hotels as well, most notably the Bell Hotel in Epping, which was linked to Harish Kabatu, who committed those sex assaults near that particular hotel accommodation. So a great deal of concern about that. I mean, the thing I will add about the 2 barracks they're looking at, which is the Cameron Barracks up in Inverness and also a barracks down in East Sussex, a training camp down there, is that although they're on a barracks, they won't be secure accommodation. And in other words, the migrants will still be free to come and go. And in particular, with regard to East Sussex, that is a location that is, you know, a rural location with small towns and communities around that area. And I think there'll be a great deal of concern at the potential for 400 or 500 migrants to be housed next to them and free to go and wander around the local communities.
OK. Well, Mark White, thanks indeed for bringing us both of those stories. And, of course, we'll keep you guys updated throughout the rest of the show on this terrible stabbing in Uxbridge.
Yeah, awful, isn't it? I mean, really, really terrible. But if you just tuned in, welcome. It's 30 minutes after midday, and there is actually more bad news, but this time it's on the economy.
Yes, the Office for Budget Responsibility is expecting productivity growth to be lower than expected, yes, by 0.3 percentage points, increasing the prospect of big tax rises. It might sound like a very small percentage, but small percentages of very big numbers can create very big black holes.
And, of course, Rachel Reeves is trying to fix this one after she's apparently filled the other one, but maybe she didn't fill it and there was $2 billion outstanding. Because according to reports, there was fury in Number 10 that the OBR has decided to deliver the downgrade now and not before the election. Well, we're joined now by the economist Julian Jessup for more on this. So, Julian, how come? Because I thought Rachel had sort of filled the £22 billion black hole. Has she filled it and then made another one, or is this just a $2 billion that's left over because she didn't fill it properly?
I've actually got some sympathy for Rachel Reeves for a change on this one. What the OBR seems to be doing is that they've been over-optimistic on productivity for many years, going back maybe to the global financial crisis of 2008. And so this is a bit of a catch-up with other forecasters who've been more realistic for a while. So it's unfortunate, it's unlucky for Rachel Reeves that this has happened on her watch. But my sympathy only goes too far. I mean, for a start, it is significant that, you know, despite everything that Labour has promised to do, the OBR still thinks our productivity growth is going to be very weak. And also the potential 20 billion shortfall as a result of the productivity upgrade is only part of the story. It looks like also there'll be an overshoot on welfare spending and on debt interest, which is mostly down to Rachel Reeves. Plus, she's likely to want to try and increase the amount of fiscal headroom in the budget to allow for more headroom in case there are further shocks in future. So the big increases in taxes we're likely to get next month are only partly due to the productivity downgrade. They're also due to decisions that Rachel Reeves herself is going to make.
Now, Julian, you've been looking at some of the numbers here. Can you give us a sense of the scale of tax rises that we might actually be facing? I mean, Rachel Reeves talked a lot about a £22 billion black hole last year. What's the damage this year?
Well, I must say, first of all, this is just speculation. I think there's an element of expectations management here. The talk about a productivity downgrade is coming from Treasury officials or Number 10, not from the OBR itself. So it's possible that, you know, the things may not be as bad as they look on the day itself. But I do think there's a good chance we're heading for another tax increasing package of about £40 billion. In other words, the same as we had last year. Yeah, exactly. Now, you get to 40 billion in various different ways. You might say 20 billion is due to the productivity downgrade, and maybe up to another 10 billion for higher spending on welfare and debt interest, and another 10 billion for an increase in the fiscal headroom to give herself a bigger cushion against future shocks. So it's possible that this year's budget is going to be just as bad as last year's, even though last year's was supposed to be a one-off.
Now, there's murmurings about a mansion tax. What other taxes have you heard in the sort of rumour mill that are on target to be perhaps increased?
Well, I think we've heard every single possible tax increase mentioned. I think what she does partly depends on how big the black hole is. If it is only about 20 billion, then I think she can do most of that through taxes on wealth and on richer people, with only a small amount falling on what you might call, you know, working people. And that impact on working people, I think, will mainly be felt through an extension of the freeze on income tax allowances, which I think is almost inevitable. But if we're talking a figure nearer 30 or 40 billion for the shortfall, I think she has to pull some of the big tax levers, and I think that would include an increase in the basic rate of income tax, which obviously affects everybody. So there's no doubt that taxes are going up. The smaller the overall package, the more it might be just focusing on so-called wealthy or richer people. But the bigger the increases she has to do, the broader the impact is going to be, including, you know, people that everybody else I think would consider as normal working people.
Julian, in your calculation there, you say that she'd want to give about £10 billion of headroom. Is that over and on top of headroom that's already assumed? Because last year, she only gave herself £10 billion of headroom, and that caused no end of problems when tariffs hit or the economic growth was not as high as expected. Suddenly that headroom vanishes and she's back for more tax. I mean, is this just going to be a merry-go-round every single year? Rachel Reeves fails to give herself enough headroom, and then she's back the next year doing what she says she wouldn't do.
Well, that's a very good point. I mean, I think next month's budget is clearly going to be awful. So she might as well go big and bold and chuck everything in so that she can try and restore a little bit of confidence that this time is genuinely going to be the last time she comes along with such a big package. And now that might sound a bit crazy to go big, but it will have two advantages. One, I think it will send a clear signal to businesses and consumers that, you know, this honestly is it. But also it's very important in terms of the impact on the markets, because if she can convince the markets that this is the last big tax raising budget, then that I think will restore some credibility. It might allow interest rates, not just government borrowing costs, but also the interest rates set by the Bank of England to fall more quickly and further than they would otherwise have done. So if she can go big and bold and restore some confidence amongst consumers, businesses, but also the markets, I think this might work. However, this wouldn't be what I would do. I think the best way to restore that credibility would be to tackle spending rather than simply to increase taxes further. Because obviously the risk with big tax increases is that you reinforce the doom loop that we're already seeing, where taxes go up, confidence is hit, the economy is weaker, and we end up with no improvement in the finances.
Should she do a Javier Milei?
Get out the chainsaw.
Yeah,
She should do that, shouldn't she? I don't know why she doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely think she should. I mean, there are a couple of ways of looking at this. You could get 40 billion from restoring public sector productivity to the levels it was even just a few years ago. If you could boost public sector productivity, that fixes the problem. But more generally, if you could simply reduce day-to-day spending by 3% at the end of the forecast period compared to the increases that are currently priced in, that's 40 billion as well. So I'd much rather she was looking at boosting public sector productivity and cutting spending rather than raising taxes even further.
Julian Jessup, thank you very much. An economist there telling us, I think he's absolutely right. Obviously, you see a successful person doing a successful thing like Javier Milei, and you could potentially copy it. Why are you doing the doom loop nonsense? She's been doing that since she started. We're still in the same cycle.
Bond yields in Argentina have just collapsed instead of going up as they have been historically in this country. The cost of Argentinian debt is now lower after his election victory than it was before. Although, of course, slightly different economy. Still a lot of problems in the Argentinian economy built up for 70 years of mismanagement.
But the change of direction has been a positive thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can't carry on in exactly the same way.
But you heard it here first. Gone is the £22 billion black hole. Say hello to the £40 billion black hole.
So it's the 22 plus 20 and then give or take 2 billion. Never mind, because time is ticking on your chance to win the biggest prize of the year. It is, of course, our Great British giveaway. Here are the details you need.
There's just 3 days to see how you can win big, with a prize worth over £104,000. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. Worth over £74,000, this luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. The coming year could be your best yet, but hurry, get your entry in now. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and there's plenty more coming on today's programme.
Including King Charles. He was heckled by a protester demanding answers over Prince Andrew's links to Jeffrey Epstein. But after the break...
Yes, the Reform Party says it can save £100 million a year by cutting thousands of civil servants and closing government offices. But can it really be trimmed all so easily?
All that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
After Diana's tragic death, and he goes into a lot of the detail in Spare, Harry was traumatized, in denial even, and also there's no question he took to drugs and drink as a part of a panacea. He was able to find himself in the military, but there's absolutely no doubt that that unquestionably changed him.
Well, I mean, both boys did go through it. I mean, like you, I covered the funeral. I stood there and watched him walk behind their mother's coffin. I mean, it did affect both boys, didn't it? But it's Harry is the one that seemed to be searching and angry more than his older brother. And so, I mean, Meghan being a mother figure, it does kind of make sense.
Well, in that sense, it conceivably could. I mean, in the Mirror, he was talking about even fantasizing, I suggest, about Diana living in California as a sort of granny figure, which I have to say, it's very hard to anticipate what would have happened, but there's absolutely no doubt that that was the catalyst, and truly, truly tragic.
Yeah, of course it was. It was horrible, and it's a horrific thing to happen to two young boys like that. What do you think Meghan would make of this comment that she is a mother figure to her husband?
Well, I think that she would appreciate the fact that of the two of them, she is very definitely the dominant figure. That is definitely what comes across, and that is the way most people interpret the way their relationship. And I mean, I think they're still in love. I think that the relationship on the whole is working very well. It's hard to be precise because the net is flooded with rumours, as you know, about everything.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the cars.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 26 minutes past midday. Now, another day, another reform press conference. And today, the party took aim at the civil service.
Growth in the public sector is essentially zero in that time. And that is despite, think about what's happened since 1997, the advent of the internet, automation, AI now. So, and that chart does not even do justice to the catastrophe of this situation.
But can the civil service really be cut? Many governments have tried, few have actually succeeded.
Well, let's speak to the director at Policy Exchange and former senior civil servant himself, Ian Mansfield. Ian, I'm old enough to remember when Rishi Sunak promised to make sweeping cuts to the civil service, take it back to 2016 levels.
Oh, that old,
And it didn't really happen, did it?
You're right, it didn't, but that doesn't mean there haven't been any successful attempts to cut the civil service. So if you look between 2010 and 2016, David Cameron cut civil service numbers by around 100,000. Now, since then, they have exploded. They've exploded by almost 30%, and they now stand at over 500,000. But in a report last week at Policy Exchange, we calculated that if you look across the civil service and arm's-length bodies, you could save almost $2 billion a year by cutting numbers back to 2016 levels.
Now, when you're talking about the civil service, which level of civil service? Are you talking about those that work within government bodies and the quangos, or are you talking about civil servants who work within the public?
So we're talking about all of those who are formally classified as civil servants, and that includes those in the sort of Whitehall government departments sitting right in Westminster. It also includes many others in, for example, His Majesty's Revenue and Customs, or working in sort of DWP up and down the country. There's currently stands just over 500,000 of them. It doesn't include, for example, those teachers and NHS workers in that numbers, although it's no doubt that productivity could be improved in those areas as well. One thing I would say is that this can't just be about cutting. And again, this is something which at Policy Exchange we've talked about extensively. It needs to be about reform as well. And that means about giving permanent secretaries and other civil service bosses the real power to fire poor performers. In some Whitehall departments, fewer than 1 in 1,000 civil servants are dismissed for poor performance every year. And then alongside, that needs some of the private sector flexibilities where you can actually pay your good performers more. We need a smaller, more productive, and ultimately cheaper civil service.
I've got a lot of friends and family in the civil service, and there are a lot of really, really good people there. And I have never met anyone more irritated by the civil service's inability to get rid of poor performers than good performers within the civil service. I mean, it is the most extraordinary organisation where if you basically don't do your job, yes, you won't advance very far, but you'll just be stuck in a department that they don't think is particularly important, and you'll have that job for life. I mean, why has no government been able to actually get to that root and branch issue within our civil service?
That's a really good question. And as I say, although numbers have been cut before, they've never managed to grasp this issue of poor performance. I think there's a number of ways around this. Ultimately, it needs to be changing around the culture, and that needs to start at the very top with permanent secretaries, and they need to be tasked and held responsible for creating that culture in which poor performance is held to account, and their incentives, their salaries, their bonuses, and ultimately their prospects of further promotion need to be based on this. There needs to be a wholehearted change of the HR terms and conditions. They need to be ripped up and replaced with best in practice in the private sector. And then the final thing, though, is I think you do actually need to look at the incentives here, because currently the Treasury keeps such a tight fist over this, is that, if you can't pay good performers more, if you can't pay more to attract really good people and to keep them, well, then the only way to actually sort of build your empire is to sort of increase your headcount and your numbers. And actually, if you gave greater flexibility and accountability towards individual permanent secretaries and then demanded results of them, then actually that might be a better approach than trying to control everything from the Treasury.
All right, very briefly, if you put all these things in place and you decide to cull a load of civil servants, how easy would it actually be? Wouldn't they have tribunals and this and that? Wouldn't it take you an age to actually get rid of them?
So again, I would go back to that 2010 to 2016 period, which is not so far away, where they cut over 100,000 in 6 years. That absolutely shows what can be done. You have to be willing to lead for the top. You have to have the ministers willing to force this through. You have to have hard budget limits on this. In some cases, you may have to pay for compulsory severance. One thing which, again, I would go back to a report we wrote earlier this year on reforming the civil service, is that you actually should aim for compulsory redundancy rounds. If you try and do it all through voluntary redundancy, yes, it sounds nice, but what happens is your best performers leave and go work elsewhere. It's only by doing compulsory redundancy rounds, grasping the nettle, that you actually get rid of the poor performers, and you can end up with this higher performing civil service. And I'd like to pick up on what you said earlier, Tom, because you absolutely right. It's the good civil servants who hate the fact that the poor performers are allowed to just languish there. And it comes up in every civil service people survey every year.
Yeah, it means they end up doing more than their own job to cover for their useless colleagues. But perhaps that's less diplomatic and perhaps... Ian, it's been a fascinating conversation. Yeah, thanks indeed for talking through actually what can be done in government. I think so often we talk about the politics of things, but actually the nuts and bolts of making government work can be absolutely fascinating and is so necessary.
They just need to get on with it. Just get rid of people who are really bad performers. I mean, that wouldn't work here on GBNews. We couldn't afford it. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GBNews. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, we'll have the very latest on Hurricane Melissa as it bears down on Jamaica, picking up speed, all of that and much, much more after your latest news headlines.
Thank you very much. The top stories. A man has died after 3 people were stabbed in London. Police were called to a stabbing in Midhurst Gardens in Uxbridge at 5 p.m. yesterday. A 22-year-old man was arrested at the scene on suspicion of murder and attempted murder. Thousands of small boat migrants will be moved out of hotels and into old army barracks. Discussions are underway over the use of 2 sites, one in Scotland, the other in the south of England, for accommodation for reportedly 900 men. British tourists are locked down in hotels in Jamaica as Hurricane Melissa becomes the strongest storm on the planet and edges towards the Caribbean island. The storm has already killed 3 people in Jamaica and 4 deaths in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. And shoppers are being warned that so-called shrinkflation is hitting household budgets hard, with everyday items from coffee to toothpaste quietly getting smaller. Those are the latest headlines for now. More in half an hour.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Thank you, Tatiana. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, King Charles was heckled by a protester demanding answers over Prince Andrew's links to Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes, all of that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's a bright but blustery day for many of us. Sunny spells but also frequent showers. We've seen a weather front pass through the UK. That tends to slow down and stall through the channel during the rest of the day before another front moves in overnight, bringing more prolonged rain. But in between, westerly winds and showery conditions for many. The most frequent showers will be across the north and west of Scotland, Northern Ireland, northwest England, parts of West Wales, some heavy downpours, perhaps even some rumbles of thunder towards the west of Scotland with these frequent showers, all accompanied by a strong breeze, that wind gusty over northern hills in particular. But there will be some places where we avoid the showers, the Midlands, East Anglia, the south and southeast, seeing plenty of sunny spells and feeling pleasant enough here with lighter winds, temperatures close to average. But across much of Scotland, the showers increase overnight with some heavy downpours, even some more prolonged rain pushing in from the west. Likewise for Northern Ireland, some heavy downpours arriving through the evening, those then pushing into northern England and North Wales. Further south, drier for a time through the evening, but you can see the cloud becoming thick once again across the southwest of England. And this area of rain, the next weather front moving in, initially across parts of Wales, late evening, and then after midnight that blossoms across a large part of the Midlands, the southwest of England, and we'll see some showers moving into the southeast. Clearer spells for northern England, Northern Ireland, as well as much of Scotland. In between, some heavy showers, but where we get those clear spells and lighter winds overnight, it'll be a chilly start on Wednesday, perhaps a few mist and fog patches first thing across northern parts of the UK. Otherwise, bright spells and showers once again, but we do have this area of rain initially across central parts and then sinking into the southeast by the afternoon. A cloudy and damp day. Here, 14 Celsius, cooler but staying fairly blustery and showery further north.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Road users in Lothian should prepare for delays on the A720 Lothian burn-off slip, restricted westbound due to a broken down vehicle. In Cumbria, the A590 westbound is congested between the junctions with the A5087 and the A595. Hampshire's A3 southbound is congested between the junctions with the A272 Petersfield South and the A3M. Devon's M5 southbound has a lane closed between junction 29 and 30 due to a road traffic collision. And on the trains, disruptions are ongoing between London Paddington and Heathrow Airport and Reading. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 38 minutes past midday. Now, Buckingham Palace is reportedly in talks to find a new home for Sarah Ferguson as discussions continue over Prince Andrew's future at Royal Lodge.
Well, yes. How long have you known about Andrew and Epstein? Have you asked the police to cover up for Andrew? Have you asked the police to cover up for Andrew's Charles? What do you think? Should the MPs be allowed to debate the royals in the House of Commons?
So that was the King being heckled. But how do the royal family move on from this scandal? Well, joining us now, our royal correspondent Cameron Walker. First, though, just wondered, Fergie getting a house. I suppose, you know, they've been married, they lived in the same place. You can't just throw her out on the streets, can you?
Yeah, it's tricky. They divorced in 1996. They've been cohabiting in Royal Lodge, a 30-room mansion, since 2008. So arguably, they can live two separate lives in quite a big property. The problem is, they can't really have a divorced couple move into a small-ish cottage. So that's where the sticking point appears to be. Clearly, there is some sort of negotiation going on as to where both Andrew and Fergie are going to be living, probably separately. The problem is we don't know exactly what. Now, there's lots and lots of rumours flying around in the papers. What I absolutely can tell you is I think it's inevitable that Prince Andrew and Fergie will be forced to leave Royal Lodge at some point in the near future. We just don't know where they are going to move to, and I think that's the kind of negotiation that's going on at the moment. But, you know, speaking to royal sources even this morning, they are so frustrated that yet again Prince Andrew appears to be overshadowing the work of the royal family. And you saw it yesterday with the heckler at Lichfield Cathedral. OK, it was one heckler. He had a big trench coat. He had his hood up, so clearly he didn't want to be seen. Perhaps it was a Republican trying to capitalise on this Prince Andrew scandal at the annoyance of the thousands of well-wishers who turned out to support the King visiting their local community, and particularly annoying the well-wishers who happened to be stood by this protester, which meant that the King went to the other side of the road to avoid the protester, which meant those well-wishers missed out on their chance to shake hands with the King. So it's a tricky balance, isn't it? But the fact of the matter is, while Prince Andrew remains in that property and while Parliament continue to probe Prince Andrew, you know, it's tricky.
It certainly is tricky. I find it quite hard to get my head around the idea that Fergie and Prince Andrew have been cohabiting for the last 30 years in Royal Lodge. I mean, these are not exactly people who are down and out. Surely they have other properties as well. This isn't their only property between the two of them.
No, it is. That's the problem. So
is it really? They don't have a flat somewhere in Knightsbridge?
I thought they had a palace in Dubai or something.
So 2008 is when they started living together in Royal Lodge. They had to sell off their very expensive Swiss skiing chalet a couple of years ago to pay off debts.
The heart bleeds.
Yes, the heart bleeds. Fergie also has recently sold her Mayfair Mews house for the cost, I think it was around £5 million or something. The sources telling the Mail that Fergie has nowhere to go. I think a lot of people, as you say, would say, OK, bit of perspective here. Andrew and Fergie have two daughters who are both married to very rich and wealthy people, but they don't currently have any other properties that we are aware of. Prince Andrew clearly is very used to a life of privilege. Sarah Ferguson herself from aristocracy, and also the security. Because they are not very well liked, they need to find somewhere where it's not going to be an extra burden on the taxpayers by having to fund extra police protection. Because if they move into those properties within the guarded Windsor perimeter of Frogmore Cottage and Adelaide Cottage, no extra cost is required because it's already guarded because it's in the Windsor Castle precincts.
But then they're still part of the whole sort of structure and they become a talking point again. It's probably better if they're out. Is the concern not that if they are sort of cast out in that way, that then Fergie could pen a book? I hear that perhaps publishers are already approaching her.
Well, that is the problem, because she's already got form with this. She's already written two previous memoirs, one I think very soon after the divorce and one in the early 2011 I think it was, two memoirs. So that's always a danger. I think King Charles would want to perhaps keep Fergie on side. They have had a slightly warmer relationship before the Jeffrey Epstein scandal erupted yet again with the release of emails. So perhaps it would be, I don't know, it would be unwise, wouldn't it?
You could do it on condition that
that you can move into the property if you do not write a tell-all book.
Yeah.
I mean, is it his? You know, you'd have to take her word for it. So let's see. But I think the problem is, while all of this scandal continues, and while Prince Andrew continues not to be paying rent on Royal Lodge at the expense of British taxpayers, because remember that revenue would ordinarily go to the Crown Estate, which goes to the Treasury. There are going to be questions asked, especially if a parliamentary select committee starts probing into the inner workings of the Crown Estate. This could open Pandora's box.
OK, and you say that the sad thing about this is that it misses out on all the work that the royal family is doing. So let's have a moment to look at the royal family, the work that they've been doing. Why was the King in Lichfield?
The King was in Lichfield because he was doing an away day and he wanted to show support for the community that has had the centre hub of that cathedral for 1,300 years, meeting different community groups, particularly around traditional stonemasonry, a big passion of his. He also then visited National Memorial Arboretum to show support for LGBT veterans, unveiling a new memorial there. And we had, of course, the Queen out and about today in Wiltshire. So she's doing an away day too. But just look at the crowds. There was thousands of people there, one protester shouting at the King about Prince Andrew.
Is he all right, though, the King? Because there's a picture of him looking a bit perturbed, sort of as though he's got a migraine or something.
I think everyone would look perturbed if you've got Prince Andrew, your brother, to deal with, wouldn't you? I mean, he's had a long week last week. I was with him in Rome, visiting the Vatican, where he was meeting the Pope, the first British monarch to pray over Pope for over 500 years. And now he's continuing to do a full programme of public duties here in the UK. So it's a busy week for him. Of course, he's 76 and is still undergoing a weekly cycle of cancer treatment.
Brilliant, Cameron Walker. Thank you very much. Yeah, the King. He's like a superhero, isn't he, really?
Yeah, no, absolutely extraordinary work schedule for someone who is undergoing that treatment. But let's speak to, very briefly, our political editor, Christopher Hope. He's just been in Downing Street speaking to the Prime Minister's official spokesman. Chris, what can you tell us?
That's right, Tom, and morning to you, Nana, too. We've had quite a change of language here from the government about asylum hotels. They now say this: the public has lost faith in the asylum accommodation system. This system shouldn't be, they say, an entitlement to luxury sites, as we've seen in recent years. What that means is they now say they are looking at a range of disused accommodation, industrial and ex-military sites, and medium-sized sites to house asylum seekers. And the first asylum seekers will move in before the end of the year. Already they're looking at two army sites, one in Scotland, one in the south of England. The Home Office and MOD have been told to accelerate their work once this concept for temporary accommodation has been proved. We asked them, as MP said in the report out yesterday, it may be more expensive to put people into larger sites than it is to have them in hotels, even though those hotels are luxury hotels. But the government says the prices can vary between different sites, and frankly, they want to take this risk. They recognise there is a massive lack of certainty, lack of comfort in the wider population about putting migrants arriving here illegally into hotel rooms, and that's got to end, and that's what they'll do. So that's fascinating. I think that is harder language than we ever had before from the government on these asylum hotels.
Was there any talk, Chris, of the migrants actually being kind of detained in there? Sorry, just asking you very briefly, Chris.
Yes, well, they won't be detained in the sites. They may be not allowed to leave at certain times at the military sites because you have a requirement to have military protection of those sites. But it may well be they are allowed to come and go, and that could cause tension, of course, with local communities when they're told where these sites will be stood up.
No wonder there's already protest brewing. Christopher Hope, thanks indeed for joining us live there from Downing Street.
But this is Good Afternoon Britain. Lots more coming up on today's show, but first, some European weather.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Many parts of southern Europe are going to have a fine day tomorrow, albeit there are a few showers here and there. And actually across parts of Portugal and Spain, heavy thundery rain pushing through here. There's the potential for 50 to 100 millimetres of rain in just a day or so, which is around the average for October. But further east, like I said, a lot of dry weather to be had. But worth noting, some showery rain pushing its way eastwards across parts of Cyprus, though this doesn't look especially heavy. More fine weather for most as we go through the end of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good afternoon, Britain. British tourists are locked down in hotels in Jamaica as Hurricane Melissa becomes the strongest storm on the planet and edges towards the Caribbean island, expected to make landfall very soon.
Well, the winds will reach 175 miles an hour and 40 inches of rain is expected. Warnings are in place for Cuba as well and the southeastern Bahamas.
Well, we're joined now by a broadcast meteorologist at the Met Office, Honor Krisick. Honor, so this is frightening for those people, especially if you've just gone to Jamaica for a holiday. You say, oh, I have a great time, and then suddenly this. Obviously, the Jamaican people will be very concerned. How bad could it be?
Yes, well, I think the reason why it's so powerful at the moment is because it's so slow moving. So this is why this storm is going to be quite catastrophic. More than 1,000 millimetres of rain in just a few days. This is likely to lead to landslides, widespread flooding. Just for reference, 1,000 millimetres of rain, that's more than London can get in a year. Wind speeds of 160 miles per hour, likely to destroy buildings, cause widespread damage to infrastructure, and of course, really add to that risk of life.
And by slow moving, you don't mean necessarily the winds within the hurricane. It's the hurricane itself that, because it's inching towards these islands, will stay over these islands for a longer period of time.
Yeah, exactly. So the wind speeds themselves are obviously quite intense, but we're seeing those wind speeds for longer. Unlike most major hurricanes that approach Jamaica quickly from the east-southeast to kind of the west and northwest, Melissa's actually approaching quite slowly from the south, which is quite rare as well. So that is significantly increasing the flood risk as well as prolonging those strong winds.
So what will speed its movement through Jamaica up? And is there anywhere to hide if you are in Jamaica from it?
I mean, it's really affecting highland areas, and that's obviously leading to that landslide risk. But even low-lying areas, they're more at risk of seeing storm surges, so really high wave heights as well. So in terms of anywhere to hide, not really, but as it tracks its way northwards, it will start to head its way further north. The winds and the amount of rainfall will eventually ease, but it's not going to be for a couple of days yet.
So is there any natural phenomena that could make it speed through or slow it down or change it, apart from wind direction? Is that pretty much the only thing that can stop it?
No, not necessarily just wind speed. It's also the temperatures of the water. So, for example, the reason why Hurricane Melissa has turned so powerful is because we've got very warm sea surface temperatures at the moment. So as it tracks slightly further north, we'll see a reduction in those sea surface temperatures, and that will mean it won't intensify quite as much. Also, not just in terms of wind speed, but wind shear as well. So how much it changes with height. Eventually, if that starts to increase, that the hurricane will kind of tear apart and become less intense.
We'll keep a close eye on it, of course, and best of luck to anyone out there battening down the hatches. Honor Critic, thanks very much indeed. Well, we've had weather in Jamaica. Shall we have a look at weather in this country now?
Expect warm spells. With the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's a bright but blustery day for many of us. Sunny spells but also frequent showers. We've seen a weather front pass through the UK. That tends to slow down and stall through the channel during the rest of the day before another front moves in overnight, bringing more prolonged rain, but in between, westerly winds and showery conditions for many. The most frequent showers will be across the north and west of Scotland, Northern Ireland, northwest England, parts of West Wales, some heavy downpours, perhaps even some rumbles of thunder towards the west of Scotland with these frequent showers, all accompanied by a strong breeze, that wind gusty over northern hills in particular. But there will be some places where we avoid the showers, the Midlands, East Anglia, the south and southeast, seeing plenty of sunny spells and feeling pleasant enough here with lighter winds, temperatures close to average. But across much of Scotland, the showers increase overnight with some heavy downpours, even some more prolonged rain pushing in from the west. Likewise for Northern Ireland, some heavy downpours arriving through the evening, those then pushing into Northern England and North Wales. Further south, drier for a time through the evening, but you can see the cloud becoming thick once again across the southwest of England. And this area of rain, the next weather front moving in. Initially across parts of Wales, late evening, and then after midnight that blossoms across a large part of the Midlands, the southwest of England, and we'll see some showers moving into the southeast. Clearer spells for northern England, Northern Ireland, as well as much of Scotland. In between, some heavy showers, but where we get those clear spells and lighter winds overnight, it'll be a chilly start on Wednesday, perhaps a few mist and fog patches first thing across northern parts of the UK. Otherwise, bright spells and showers once again, but we do have this area of rain initially across central parts and then sinking into the southeast by the afternoon. A cloudy and damp day here, 14 Celsius, cooler but staying fairly blustery and showery further north.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps four, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
360,000 people are without a home. Thousands of whom are on the street, but most are living in terrible, terrible conditions. Bedsits, awful B&Bs above rows of shops and hostels. 160,000 of those are children. Can you imagine trying to perform at school or in your job? And this is a crisis, Dawn, and it costs billions. That's the worst thing. We spend about £4 billion a year dealing with this, and it's just getting worse and worse.
Well, let's talk about those 160,000 children, because that's the thing that affected me when I read it this morning. Couldn't believe the numbers of children that are homeless in this country. How is this happening, Andy?
What's happening, Ellie? It's complex, but the biggest single issue, the simplest issue, is that we do not have enough homes. We don't build enough. To put it really simply, if you have a population of 10 people and you have 9 homes, somebody is going to be without a home, and that's what we've got. So when we don't build enough, somebody loses out. It's gone on for decades, by the way. Somebody loses out, and it's always going to be the poorest. It's the people who live the most chaotic lives, or have the least money, are going to be at that bottom and falling out of it. And it's absolute chaos. Ellie, the worst thing about this, it's really fixable. We can get people off the streets. We can create the medium-term accommodation to transition people from the streets, from shelters, into more permanent places. We can do this by reprioritising some of the 2.8 billion. We spend 2.8 billion quid just sticking people into really expensive overnight B&Bs. As I say, awful, crummy places above kebab shops where kids are growing up for months on end and struggling with lack of space. We can fix it, but there just isn't the political will.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. It is 1 o'clock. It is the 28th of October. I'm Nana Akua.
And I'm Tom Harwood.
Now, hundreds of migrants are set to move into army barracks to end the costly use. I was going to say the cosy use, but I think I wouldn't be far wrong. The costly use of asylum hotels. But what do local communities make of it? We'll be live in East Sussex, where one site could open as soon as November.
Elsewhere, a bombshell blow for the Chancellor. Yes, the OBR is set to slash Britain's productivity forecast. Now, it might sound technical, but it could leave an extra £20 billion black hole in the nation's finances, forcing the Chancellor to consider breaking Labour's key tax pledges.
A same-day prostate cancer diagnosis. NHS hospitals are trialling new AI technology that could cut anxious waits from a week to just hours. Could it be a game-changer for men's health?
How long have you known about Andrew and Epstein? Have you asked the police to cover up for Andrew?
Well, a royal visit turns tense. King Charles was heckled by a protester demanding answers over Prince Andrew's links to Jeffrey Epstein during a cathedral appearance in Staffordshire.
Hurricane Melissa bears down on Jamaica, now a Category 5 monster. Forecasters warn it could be the strongest storm ever to hit the island. We will have the latest.
And here's one for you. At 92 years old, a sprightly 92, Cameroon's President Paul Biya has just won another 7-year term, taking his rule to nearly half a century. But as the world's oldest leader vows the best is yet to come, it raises a question. How old is too old to run a country?
He's not far off the age of Donald Trump, is he? in 92. How old is Trump? 70, 80?
Trump is... Oh, you're testing
79?
me now. I think he's late 70s.
Is he late 70s, 79?
Yeah.
But isn't it like Africa has 7 out of the top 10 oldest presidents? We have the...
It also has 7 out of the top 10 most corrupt countries. I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
Well, you see, that's the thing, isn't it? Because this particular president kept disappearing and everyone thought that perhaps he was dead. And then he disappeared to Switzerland or Sweden or somewhere.
Generally, when you have a very healthy democracy, you don't have singular leaders in for decade after decade after decade after decade.
I don't know.
I think generally the sign of a healthy democracy is that there's a relative turnover of leadership.
I don't know. I mean, look at this country. You know, Labour Party got the smallest share of any ever vote, yet they're still the party with the highest number of seats. Reform UK got the same number of, well, more votes actually than the Liberal Democrats, yet the Liberal Democrats have 71 seats and Reform UK got just 5 at the time.
That's an argument about proportion.
But that doesn't feel very democratic to me.
But it's an argument about proportion. My argument is one about turnover. Does anyone suggest that this is a particularly stable government that's going to be in for decade after decade after decade?
If you're saying stable, then probably more so than one that keeps changing every 4 years. I think there's an argument for them to have a longer term, but there should be a limit to that. Well, because obviously these guys are so short-termist, they're thinking about, oh, I'll be out in 4 years, I need the Muslim vote, I'll do this, I'll do that, and not think about perhaps what the country might need. They're working for pockets of voters.
Well, Cameroon has 7-year terms. We in Britain used to have 7-year terms.
Yeah, I'd argue for that.
I mean,
not with this lot, though.
Great prime ministers like Pitt the Younger. He was in for almost 20 years. He won 3 terms in office. Margaret Thatcher won 3 terms in office. She was only in for 11 and a half.
I think perhaps there should be some sort of mid-term election if they break manifesto promises, or they should be bound by law to the manifesto pledges. After all, that's why we voted for them.
In a way they are, because...
They're not, though, are they?
In a way they are.
Yeah, but not in a legal way, which will stop
Well, the legal way that they are is to do with conventions with regard to the House of Lords. The House of Lords can block any policy that isn't in the manifesto, but if it's in the manifesto, by precedent, the House of Lords allows it through, which is why one of the reasons why Rwanda ran into such difficulty, because it wasn't in the Conservative manifesto, then they tried to do it, and then it got stuck up in the Lords.
It depends if the Lords are full of your Lords, doesn't it? Well, send us your thoughts, post your comments at gbnews.com/your say. But first, let's get your latest news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Nana, thank you and good afternoon. The top stories. A man has died after 3 people were stabbed in London. Police were called to a stabbing in Midhurst Gardens in Uxbridge at 5 p.m. yesterday. A 49-year-old man was treated for stab wounds at the scene but died of his injuries, the Metropolitan Police have said in a statement. Another man, aged 45, suffered life-changing injuries and is currently being treated in hospital. A 14-year-old boy was also injured in the stabbing, but police said his injuries were neither life-threatening nor life-changing. A 22-year-old man was arrested at the scene on suspicion of murder and attempted murder. Elsewhere, thousands of small boat migrants will be moved out of hotels and into old army barracks. The government saying this afternoon that migrants will move in by Christmas. Discussions are underway over the use of 2 sites, one in Scotland, the other in the south of England, for accommodation for 900 men, as first reported in The Times. It's understood Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has instructed Home Office and Ministry of Defence officials to accelerate work to locate appropriate military sites. Downing Street has rejected suggestions it hadn't moved quickly enough to grasp the migrant crisis. The move comes as the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood says she is absolutely furious that hotels are still being used to house people coming into the country illegally. Shadow Cabinet Office Minister Alex Burghart spoke to GB News.
When we left office, when the Conservatives left office last summer, we had the Rwanda plan in place, and the first thing that Keir Starmer did when he became Prime Minister was scrap it. The first thing he did was scrap a deterrent programme which would have meant that people who crossed the channel illegally, came to our country illegally, their feet wouldn't have touched the ground, they would have been sent to a third country for processing. That would have been a major deterrent to the gangs and to the people crossing. Instead, Labour tore that up, and here's the result. They're having to use army barracks, having to use massive army barracks to house thousands and thousands of people who've come to the country.
In other news, British tourists in Jamaica have been told to prepare as the island's strongest storm on record closes in. The Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office has set up a crisis centre ready to help Britons on the Caribbean island. The Royal Navy ship HMS Trent is already in the region on standby. Hurricane Melissa will hit Jamaica today as a Category 5 storm, the strongest for the island since record-keeping began 174 years ago. All of Jamaica's international airports have been closed until further notice. The storm's already killed 3 people in Jamaica and 4 deaths in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper is urging Britons in Jamaica to follow the UK Foreign Office travel advice and also the Jamaican government's instructions.
Well, this is a very serious storm and many people will be concerned about friends and family in Jamaica and in the region. We've set up the crisis centre here in the Foreign Office to provide 24-hour consular assistance to British nationals, but also to monitor Hurricane Melissa and to make sure we are ready and stand ready to provide UK support to Jamaica. I've spoken to the Jamaican Foreign Minister to offer our support and solidarity to the Jamaican people as they face the storm, and I would encourage everyone to follow both the Foreign Office's travel advice and the instructions from the Jamaican government.
In other news, the King has been heckled over Prince Andrew's relationship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein during a visit to a cathedral. King Charles was shouted at by a man in the crowd outside a cathedral in Staffordshire yesterday who asked him, "How long have you known about Andrew and Epstein?" The King didn't respond to the comments, which came as the monarchy faces increasing pressure to resolve the controversy surrounding Andrew, who earlier this month said he would stop using his Duke of York title and his knighthood after revelations in the memoir of Virginia Giuffre. The Prince has always denied all allegations against him. Now, roughly 14,000 corporate jobs are to go at tech giant Amazon, the company's announced today. Earlier reporting had suggested it was planning to lay off as many as 30,000 workers. Beth Galetti, a senior vice president at Amazon, wrote in a note to staff external that the move would make the company even stronger by shifting resources, she says, to ensure we're investing in our biggest bets and what matters most to our customers' current and future needs. And John Cleese has described his on-screen wife and Fawlty Towers co-star as a really wonderful comic actress, adding scene after scene she was absolutely perfect. Actress Prunella Scales, best known for her role as Sybil, has died at the age of 93. Her sons Samuel and Joseph say she died peacefully at her home in London yesterday. This year marked 50 years since the comedy show first appeared on screens. Prunella had been diagnosed with vascular dementia in 2013. Those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more from me in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Here's a snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.3315 and €1.1422 euros. The price of gold, £2,931 and 27 pence per ounce. The FTSE 100 is at 9,654 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Thank you, Tatiana. Good afternoon, Britain. It's 10 minutes after 1 o'clock. Now, speculation is building that the Chancellor could bring in a mansion tax as she tries to raise more revenue.
Yes, the proposals could hit the owners of homes worth over £2 million, with a 1% charge on anything over that amount. So the owners of a £3 million house could face a bill of over £10,000 a year.
Well, property prices in London are being obviously inflated and millionaires are already deserting the UK. With all of that happening, is this really a good idea?
Well, one person who supports the idea is a member of the group Patriotic Millionaires, Stephen Kinsella. Stephen, thanks for being in the studio with us. There have been different proposals for mansion taxes going back years. Some say people should pay a certain amount every year. Some say that stamp duty should be increased at the point of sale.
Yep.
It seems that the proposal that's doing the rounds at the moment is an annual charge over and above council tax on these high-value homes. I mean, This is quite a whack for people.
Yeah, well, thanks first of all to GB News for having us on and for taking this subject seriously, and we do appreciate that. You're right to say it's speculation at the moment, isn't it? I mean, we're reading these proposals like you and trying to work out what they mean. We've always said at Patriotic Millionaires that we're in favour of shifting the emphasis a bit from income tax more to capital taxes, because we think that, income taxpayers are taking too high a share of the burden of tax, and so we would like that shift. So when we look at a proposal like this, I guess we'd say we'd cautiously welcome at least the fact the conversation is shifting to capital taxes, but I think we'd share a lot of the reservations you would have about this, whether it's kicking in at too low a level. And as you say, there are some individuals who, their property has increased in value over time, but that may be their sole asset. So it may seem quite a blunt instrument to most people to do something like this, but we're all waiting to hear, aren't we?
But it feels like there'll be a string of unintended consequences. So, of course, what will happen is estate agents will start to become inundated with people wanting to shift their properties before any of this kicks in. There'll be people bringing down the values of their properties as well. The stock market, I should imagine, will have some reaction to this. I don't think it will be a good one. All of this doesn't feel like it's been factored into a rumour that this particular tax will rise, and that's not really a good thing, is it?
Yeah, and we don't know why this story is surfacing now and how serious it is and what they really have in mind. As we said, our proposal is, as you know well, because you've had us on to talk about this before, is we think we should look at a wealth tax above 10 million. Now, that would include your mansion or mansions if you have several, but it would kick in at that level, which would mean that it wouldn't cause the sort of shocks and concerns that you're talking about.
It would cause some difficulty, though, to take the wealth tax at face value for a while. There are some countries around the world that have a wealth tax. Spain,
yes,
Switzerland. And yet Switzerland is considered a tax haven by most economists. They have a wealth tax because they don't have an inheritance tax. In this country, we have an inheritance tax, so we don't have a wealth tax. I mean, is it a bit disingenuous to sort of look at other countries when actually their tax mix falls about the same as ours?
I think you're right that making comparisons is difficult. I mean, Norway has one, a wealth tax that is quite
doesn't raise a lot of money.
Well, people say not a lot of money, but it raises 2 billion, I think, and they have a population that's about 1/6 of ours. So, as you know, because you've looked at this before, but our proposal, we say that we think we could raise 24 billion with a wealth tax.
A lot of economists say that seems optimistic.
No, not if you start it at a higher threshold, like you're suggesting.
Yes.
Right? You start at a higher threshold.
No, this is at 10. This is kicking in at 10 million.
Yeah, at 10 million.
Yes.
See, that's the problem with a lot of their proposals. The winter fuel allowance would have been more palatable had it started at way above £11,000. That was ridiculous. So with this particular one, 10 million would sounds way more reasonable.
Yeah, we think so, exactly. And you're right. Yeah, some economists do. Well, look, you can always find an economist to make a prediction, can't you? But we think the figures are pretty solid. And I heard Nana say right at the beginning that about people leaving. Well, the evidence doesn't show that people leave. Certainly that people wouldn't leave the UK if they had to pay 2%.
The highest, 2% isn't actually 2% because they might be getting 4% return on their investments.
Exactly.
So it becomes a 50% tax on their income.
Yes.
That starts to sound very high, over and on top of maybe the 45% tax that they're paying. I mean, these percentages really do add up.
Yeah, I think it's very unlikely they're also paying the 45% because they're mostly making their wealth mostly from income. But you're right.
Maybe they're paying a 20% capital gains tax.
Yes.
Add the 50% effective rate that your wealth tax would add in, they're suddenly paying 60% tax.
Absolutely, and we all agree it's complicated.
It's complicated, but good luck to Rachel Reeves sorting that out. You can sell us Patriotic Millionaires. Thank you very much.
Right, we're going to bring you some developing news now. A man has died after 3 people were stabbed in West London.
Police were called to a stabbing in Midhurst Gardens in Uxbridge at 5 o'clock yesterday.
Well, joining us live from the scene is our Home and Security editor, Mark White. Mark, what can you tell us?
Well, a horrific event that unfolded here at tea time yesterday. We're in Midhurst Gardens now. I just want to give you, before I speak to an important eyewitness, just a quick shot up there. You can see the blue police forensic tent, which is right in the middle of the road. This, the scene where the 49-year-old victim staggered out onto the roadway, it seems, and died on that roadway despite the best efforts of the emergency services to save his life. Two other people, a 45-year-old man and a 14-year-old boy, were also stabbed. The man quite seriously, the 14-year-old boy less seriously. But we can talk now to Paul O'Brien, who's a local resident here in Midhurst Gardens. Thank you very much for speaking to us live on GB News. You saw what happened here. Just talk us through it, please, Paul.
Yeah, so I was coming back just from the local shops around here, and I see some people running sort of from this direction of the scene towards me in a bit of a panic. So I then come round to the road where I could just hear commotion, but couldn't quite put my, what was going on.
And just this roadway right
Just
here?
this road here, yeah. And then I could hear a distance, sort of like a wow of many sirens, and just felt something was on, something was off. I then see two police cars, one unmarked, one marked, come really fast down here. They sped down there, jumped out, and then I saw them direct someone. They were shouting at them to drop their weapon. They were saying, "Armed police, drop your weapon." And the guy had his arms up, but he was walking backwards, sort of towards me, with his back towards me down this
And
road.
could you see the weapon?
Yeah, in his right hands. He had it held up, quite a big weapon. I'd say about that big, I guess, from distance. And yeah, he was backing towards me. The police just kept shouting very loudly, "Armed police, drop your weapon, drop your weapon." And he didn't. So they tasered him, and he fell down onto my right here. Just on the pavement where he stayed, really. I think he had some medical attention, but there was just complete chaos around here. There was, so many vehicles, police, paramedics, first responders, everyone.
Well, we know the 22-year-old suspect was taken to hospital, medically examined, but found to be uninjured after being tasered. Describe, Paul, if you would, what happened next, because obviously there are multiple stab victims here.
Yeah, so it was just mainly after that, it was just a lot of police activity and a load of paramedic activity. They was running very fast down there with their, those rucksacks they carry, the medics. And I knew it was more than one person. Oh, sorry, they did shout to him, they was arresting him on attempted murder, which I guess later changed, but at the time that's what they said. And then there was just paramedic after paramedic, police turning up, all just running down in that direction. And then it was just a matter of neighbours coming out saying some people were receiving treatment. And then we thought it was 2 people, only to wake up this morning to find it was 3 people.
And I mean, this area, tell us about this area. There are obviously lots of reports, and you've heard them from your neighbours as well, suggesting that this may have been a migrant, that there may have been a house of multiple occupancy down there. What can you tell us?
Nothing for certain. All I can say is that there are many of my neighbours that was talking or come out last night was saying that there's a multi-occupancy, down there, and that he was known to be living there. But that was kind of hearsay. I can't say for definite, but that was a general feeling last night when the residents all come out.
Yeah, and I should say that we clearly want confirmation from that. We've reached out to the Metropolitan Police and the Home Office in the hope of getting a bit more information and some confirmation about the individual that is now in custody here. But Paul, in terms of just how this community has reacted, as you say, people were just out of the house, absolutely shocked.
Yeah, it was 5 o'clock on a Monday. Kids was walking along with their parents, people was just arriving back from work, so everybody was out last night in their dressing gowns, just absolutely amazed that something this close to where children are walking around to their local shops can happen. Recently there has been a fear of, rising crime and the safety of just being able to walk around your local shop.
And is this an area that has a crime issue, or is it actually quite a peaceful neighbourhood?
It's just fairly peaceful. There's your typical minor crime, like people's vans being broken into, motorbikes being stolen, kids driving around on those electric scooters. But other than that, we've been here 14 years and we've had no issues personally.
But as we say, I mean, just the events that unfolded, the fast-moving and just the most shocking.
Yeah, it was just unbelievable to see it. It was just getting dark, and the amount of police and that here on your doorstep. It's all community around it. The only businesses are local businesses, little shops and stuff. So to see that happen, and I mean, I don't know who these people are, the victims, but to think a 14-year-old you know, probably on half term, looking forward to school, and you know.
Did any of the neighbours that you spoke to think that they knew the people, that they might have been local, or have you had any information back on that?
Yeah, just that they are local and live in the same road, and that the suspect, again, just from people chatting on the street, is that he does live on the same road as well.
Listen, Paul, we really appreciate you speaking to us. I know you've got to dash now, but we really appreciate that first-hand account of what happened. Paul O'Brien, they're a local resident here in Uxbridge, in Midhurst Gardens. The scene of this, one of the first on scene as he saw this event unfold. He came out just as the police were arriving, seeing people running down the street here, then the police apprehending a suspect that he said had a rather large weapon, a large knife on him. He was tasered, and we know, as we just discussed there, that the suspect was uninjured, medically examined but uninjured, is in police custody at this time on suspicion of murder and attempted murder as the investigation continues here. And it's worth reiterating that point. There's a lot of people around here concerned and had suggested that one of the suspect may have been a migrant. We've certainly reached out to try to get confirmation whether that is the case. In truth, we just don't know at this stage, but if we get confirmation one way or the other, we will bring that to you live on GB News.
All right, Mark White, thank you very much.
Yeah, really shocking to hear that first-hand eyewitness account.
Yeah, really
we'll bring you any more official confirmation of the facts as and when we get them.
23 minutes after 1. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, a same-day prostate cancer diagnosis could be a game-changer for men's health. We'll have that later, but after the break...
Outrage over Justice Secretary David Lammy laughing off the mistaken release of the convicted sex offender. Is his credibility now on the line?
Well, all of that and much more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 27 minutes past 1. Now, thousands of small boat migrants will be moved out of hotels and into old army barracks. We've been talking about it all day today here on GB News.
Yes.
And, of course, everyone's been chiming in with your thoughts. gbnews.com/your say is the way to get involved, whether it's on rehousing migrants or, indeed, any of the other stories that we've been talking about.
Right, well, the plans will see the use of 2 barracks in Scotland and East Sussex. They'll temporarily house 900 men from next month. Sounds like a publicity stunt to me. What do you think?
Well, joining us now from Crowborough, where the asylum seekers will be housed, is GB News national reporter Jack Carson. Jack, what can you tell us?
Jack, what can you tell us? Jack, look up.
I feel like we might have an extreme delay on the line, or Jack's earpiece isn't working as well as we intended.
Can't hear us. Well, listen, what do you think at home? gbnews.com/your say. Look, Julie said to me, she actually messaged me saying the decision to move migrants to military barracks, will they be allowed to wander around the local vicinity or will they have to stay confined to the property? And, of course, I did ask Christopher Hope that question on Julie's behalf, and Christopher Hope said, for now, that he's unsure, but it's unlikely.
But that's one of the concerns that people have. I think you're going to get a lot more local opposition to a migrant housing centre if it means loads of migrants, so you don't know who on earth they are, just milling about your local town centre, peering into school gates, as we've seen in some examples around the country. It's extraordinary that I don't think you'd get anywhere near the level of opposition to housing these people in military sites if they were detained rather than allowed to mill around.
I think that's what most people want. I don't know why the government don't do it. Let's find out more from GB News' reporter Jack Carson, who is there in Crowborough. Jack, so what can you tell us about this particular centre and what is the plan?
Well, this is the entrance to the site behind me, where the Home Office planned to temporarily place around 600 people in this training camp. Now, this training camp is used by the Ministry of Defence. It hosts different cadet groups, such as the Sussex Army Cadet Force and Air Training Corps at the site as well. It has recently been used in the past few years to house the accommodation of evacuees or relocations, particularly of people from Kabul in Afghanistan back in 2021. Now, the local authority here have said that the safety and security of nearby residents is paramount for these plans, where asylum seekers are set to be housed here from just next month. But a recent petition has been launched by people in the area. 1,000 people already signing that petition around their concerns exactly around how this site is going to be used. We know that this is part of a wider plan from the government and the Home Office to stop housing people in asylum hotels. Of course, this site, the Home Office say, is going to be self-contained, and essential services, they say, will be provided here to reduce the impact that would have on local services. That's what Weldon District Council say. So there have been concerns naturally from residents in the area around the already strained doctor services infrastructure in this area, but the District Council saying that essential services will be provided here to ensure that those essential services for locals who live here in the area isn't going to be reduced and impacted. And it also seems that some asylum seekers may well be given the opportunity to volunteer within the local community. And as I was saying, a petition against those kinds of plans has already been launched, and 1,000 people already voicing their concerns. Exactly the detail around the plans here at this site. Now, as I was saying, this is part of a wider move from the government to end the use of asylum hotels. Of course, recent figures just showing just how much money the government is having to spend, of course, to continue to house people in asylum hotels all around the country. The Home Office itself has said it is furious at the level of asylum hotel use. Of course, this is one of the options that the government has in order to house asylum seekers. One of those would also be, of course, industrial sites, disused accommodation. There are many ways, and of course this is one of them. And around June this year, as we were just saying, 32,000 asylum seekers were being housed in hotels. That is a great cost to the government. Now, it will be a cost to ensure that the accommodation here and this training camp is up to scratch in order to, of course, house those asylum seekers. As I was saying, it has housed them in the past few years, so this is not a site which is where it's unusual for asylum seekers to be housed by the government. And yesterday, the Prime Minister said that he was frustrated and angry, blaming the previous Conservative government for leaving what he called a huge mess in the asylum system by failing to process people's claims. The government hoped that being able to use sites like this will enable to do that much faster.
All right, Jack Carson, thank you very much.
Well, of course, Councillor James Partridge, who's leader of Wealdon District Council and lives in Crowborough, has said he's written to the Secretary of State for Migration and Citizenship to make it clear that local people will rightly be concerned about the effect at which using Crowborough Camp as asylum accommodation will have on them, to the wider area, and to urge them to plan accordingly. I believe we should work with the Home Office to ensure their plans are as effective as possible and there's as little impact on the community as possible.
All right, well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, we'll have the very latest on Hurricane Melissa as the Red Cross warns that 1.5 million people are to be impacted in Jamaica, including British tourists. All of that and much more to come after your very latest news headlines.
Thank you very much. The top stories. A man has died after 3 people were stabbed in London. Police were called to a stabbing in Midhurst Gardens in Uxbridge at 5 p.m. yesterday. A 22-year-old man was arrested at the scene on suspicion of murder and attempted murder. Thousands of small boat migrants will be moved out of hotels and into old army barracks. Discussions are underway over the use of 2 sites, one in Scotland, the other in the south of England, for accommodation for 900 men. British tourists are locked down in hotels in Jamaica as Hurricane Melissa becomes the strongest storm on the planet and edges towards the Caribbean island. The storm has already killed 3 people in Jamaica and 4 deaths in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. And John Cleese has described his on-screen wife and Fawlty Towers co-star as a really wonderful comic actress, adding scene after scene, she was absolutely perfect. Actress Prunella Scales, best known for her role as Sybil, has died at the age of 93. Those are the headlines for now. More in half an hour.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Well, thanks very much. Now, lots more still coming up on today's programme.
A same-day prostate cancer diagnosis, could it be a game changer for men's health?
All of that and indeed much more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's a bright but blustery day for many of us. Sunny spells but also frequent showers. We've seen a weather front pass through the UK. That tends to slow down and stall through the channel during the rest of the day before Another front moves in overnight, bringing more prolonged rain, but in between, westerly winds and showery conditions for many. The most frequent showers will be across the north and west of Scotland, Northern Ireland, northwest England, parts of West Wales, some heavy downpours, perhaps even some rumbles of thunder towards the west of Scotland with these frequent showers, all accompanied by a strong breeze. That wind gusty over northern hills in particular, but there will be some places where we avoid the showers. The Midlands, East Anglia, the south and southeast, seeing plenty of sunny spells and feeling pleasant enough here with lighter winds, temperatures close to average. But across much of Scotland, the showers increase overnight with some heavy downpours, even some more prolonged rain pushing in from the west. Likewise for Northern Ireland, some heavy downpours arriving through the evening, those then pushing into northern England and North Wales. Further south, drier for a time through the evening, but you can see the cloud becoming thick once again across the southwest of England. And this area of rain, the next weather front moving in, initially across parts of Wales, late evening, and then after midnight that blossoms across a large part of the Midlands, the southwest of England, and we'll see some showers moving into the southeast. Clearer spells for northern England, Northern Ireland, as well as much of Scotland. In between, some heavy showers, but where we get those clear spells and lighter winds overnight, it'll be a chilly start on Wednesday, perhaps a few mist and fog patches first thing across northern parts of the UK. Otherwise, bright spells and showers once again, but we do have this area of rain initially across central parts and then sinking into the southeast by the afternoon. A cloudy and damp day. Here, 14 Celsius, cooler but staying fairly blustery and showery further north.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M74 at junction 10 southbound is affected by a vehicle fire. Drivers should use caution. On the A590 eastbound between the A595 and the A5087 west of Ulverston, expect 10-minute delays. On the A38 northbound in Staffordshire, expect a 10-minute delay between junctions A5121 and A5132. A broken-down vehicle affects eastbound traffic on the M4 between junctions 20 and 19 in South Gloucestershire. And on the trains, there are disruptions on both the Elizabeth Line and Great Western Railway. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. We have some breaking news. We have an important update on the triple stabbing in West London. Our Home and Security editor, Mark White, joins us live on the scene. Mark, what can you tell us?
Well, sources now confirming to us that the suspect, the 22-year-old man who is in custody on suspicion of murder and attempted murder following this triple stabbing here, is an Afghan national. We're waiting to get more confirmation from the Home Office on his status in terms of whether he is an asylum seeker, someone who was here on the Afghan relocation scheme, what the situation of his status in the country is at the moment, but we can confirm that he is an Afghan national. I've just been speaking a short time ago actually to another eyewitness here, Ben James, who lives locally, who was on the scene very quickly after this incident unfolded and saw the dying man, other people injured on the streets as the emergency services were trying to administer first aid to those individuals. And he said that he had been told that there is a house of multiple occupancy further up the street right by where that blue forensic tent is, and I'm going to step out of the way at the moment just to let you get your bearings. You can see where the blue forensic tent is. To the right of that, we're told there's an HMO, and according to our eyewitness Ben James, speaking to local residents that he knows here, the suspect apparently emerged from the HMO. There were reports of an altercation, a man stabbed, and then potentially the second victim being a dog walker. We've just had a statement as well that is through from Chief Superintendent Jill Horsfall, who leads policing in Uxbridge. And Jill Horsfall said this was a shocking and senseless act of violence that has left one man dead and 2 others injured. Our thoughts are with the victims, families and friends at this unimaginably difficult time. The incident will have understandably caused concern to the local community. I've deployed multiple officers to the local area. They will be here throughout the week to provide reassurance while detectives work intensely to piece together the circumstances. She goes on to say, I understand that there has been a lot of speculation online following on from this incident. We ask that you rely on us for information and that you do not share sensitive footage. If anyone saw or has any information about the incident, then please come forward to police, she says. We appreciate any information that you may have. And again, just finishing off, she says there'll be a crime scene and a heavy police presence within the area over the next few days. I thank residents for their patience. So they're the local sort of chief superintendent in that area giving us an update on the situation. But the major breaking news that we can confirm here on GB News is that the suspect, a 22-year-old man, now in police custody, is an Afghan national. His status in the country, we're still waiting to have determined and confirmed to us by the Home Office, but that is the news that we can confirm now for you.
All right. Mark White, thanks indeed for being there on the scene for us, bringing us that breaking news.
Wow. Right, well, send us all your thoughts as ever, gbnews.com/you'll say. But moving on to David Lammy, who was quizzed in the Commons about the mistaken release of Hadish Kabatu. But he appeared to see the funny side.
Yes, the Deputy Prime Minister was seen laughing at the questioning of the Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick, and not at the topic. Well, Lammy also did state that he was livid at the early release of Kabatu and has put in place new release protocols.
However, it is becoming, for such a senior figure to be laughing in the Commons at such a serious topic. I mean, from what I watched, he was laughing at being called Calamity Lammy. But I don't know what...
Certain ring to it, isn't there? Well, shall we speak to the journalist and critic, of course, Quentin Letts, the sketch writer supremo. Quentin, this is a pretty bad look for the Deputy Prime Minister.
That clip doesn't help him, certainly. It was an uneven performance yesterday from David Lammy, slightly unhinged in places. Although that clip made him look as though he was laughing, he started the statement by being very calm and statesmanlike. And then, a little later on, when he was himself came under personal criticism, he lost his temper absolutely terribly. And so you slightly wonder which of these positions is true. Is he calm and statesmanlike? Is he laughing it all off? Or is he furious? And when I was trying to work this out afterwards, I worked out that the only thing he's really furious about was the danger that he might lose his own job. But the rest of it seemed to be all pretty much in the rations for him.
Well, he sort of came to life there when he started blaming the Tories, which I was waiting for, because I thought to myself, oh, he hasn't blamed the previous... Oh, here it comes.
Yeah, that's right. And then when he did that, he really got very, very animated and leaned across so far, sort of 12 inches across the Commons table, right over the dispatch box. And he was holding a pen in his hand, a bit like a dart, the Eric Bristow, the crafty Cockney. And I thought he was actually going to chuck the pen so that it might land in Robert Jenrick's forehead. And then the Speaker could say 180. It was a very odd performance from David Lammy. Now, he's now our Deputy Prime Minister as well as being the Justice Secretary. And maybe, I mean, as a sketch writer, I like a bit of life in the Commons. But there are times when you want to have a slightly more calm presence, particularly on a case like this where the people of Epping, having just found that the man had been sent to prison for a sex offence, had been let out of prison accidentally. The people of Epping might have been a bit uncertain about that. So I don't think he quite reflected all the ranges of thought on this.
It is, of course, an old story that the two benches in the House of Commons are 2 sword widths apart. I don't think anyone thought about projectiles when that story was being concocted, if indeed it is true. I fear it's not. But Quentin, this comes to a pretty serious point that we have now in justice questions. 2 big beasts facing down against one another. Robert Jenrick from the Conservative Party and David Lammy from the Labour Party. I mean, do you sense a difference in these exchanges when compared to Shabana Mahmood, who was, of course, previously Justice Secretary, now Home Secretary? Perhaps it was more cordial across the dispatch boxes then?
It has to be said, Shabana Mahmood got out of that job just in time. You call them 2 heavyweights. They have both lost a bit of weight, actually. Both Jenrick and Lammy's looking a bit slimmer. I wonder if he's been on some magic bullets himself. They are. I think Jenrick and Mahmood were better matched intellectually. I'm not sure David Lammy is quite up to Jenrick in terms of the old brain power. But Lammy actually has improved as a parliamentary performer, despite what we're just talking about now and just seeing just now. As Foreign Secretary, he did acquire a certain gravitas. You will laugh at that, but I do mean it, actually. But it vanished yesterday, and those clips of him laughing really don't do him any favours at all. He was talking about this man, this Ethiopian guy, by the way, Kibatu, as Mr. Kibatu. Hang on, he's a convict. We don't call convicts Mr. We call them just by their surname. I wish the authorities just seem so overly polite and so genteel about the criminals of our country. Let's be a bit more tough about it.
Yeah, feels like they're a little bit detached from reality. Quentin, let's thank you very much. He's a journalist and a cricket critic. Sorry, he's not a cricket.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more still to come, but let's check in on that European weather.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Many parts of southern Europe are going to have a fine day tomorrow, albeit there are a few showers here and there. And actually across parts of Portugal and Spain, heavy thundery rain pushing through here. There's the potential for 50 to 100 millimetres of rain in just a day or so, which is around the average for October. But further east, like I said, a lot of dry weather to be had. But worth noting, some showery rain pushing its way eastwards across parts of Cyprus, though this doesn't look especially heavy. More fine weather for most as we go through the end of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Sumo is a fantastically simple sport to win. There's only really 2 win conditions. You either drive your opponent out of the doyo, the ring, or you take them to the ground. And when we say take them to the ground, any part of their body other than the soles of their feet which touches the ground, that counts as a loss. Now, how you do this can vary. It varies between wrestlers and their backgrounds and styles. Some will be more focused on the driving and the pushing. Some, particularly with the judo background, more focused on the throws. There is kind of a core of winning techniques, which we call kimarite, and they're kind of standard winning techniques. But realistically, any technique you use to get your opponent either out or down, you'll win the match.
But the 2 that we're seeing on the screen look actually quite lightweight sumos, because I've seen some really heavy sumos, but with that weight, they are incredibly flexible. Like the one earlier was doing the box splits. I mean, there he is. Look at that. That is not an easy. I'm training to do the box splits, and I can't do that. And look at him. He's going to roll all the way through as well. Rob, they're very fit, aren't they? But these ones look lighter.
So they are incredibly fit athletes, and I think one of the things people forget when they look at sumo or they look at rikishi is that they are athletes, and to a degree, we're looking at two sumo wrestlers standing next to each other, and so they look normal size in comparison to each other. In terms of their body fat percentage, it's actually very, very low.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 51 minutes after 1 o'clock now. Paul Biya, a 92-year-old, has won the Cameroonian presidential election, making him the oldest person in history to be elected as head of state. But he's pledged the best is yet to come.
Goodness me, well, the result raises questions about the appropriate age for our leaders. In recent years, we've seen figures like Joe Biden be elected despite concerns over their cognitive ability. And President Trump isn't exactly a spring chicken himself. He's 79 years old and already rumoured to be eyeing an unconstitutional third term.
So the question is, how old is too old? Well, this Paul Biya, he is only the second person to lead Cameroon. And so he's been but he did have a recent election where he got, like, I think it was 52% or something of the vote.
Convenient.
Yes, and the person behind him got 35% of the vote, and then some people sort of disappeared afterwards.
Yeah, do you think it's the most open and democratic society that keeps the same person in charge for decade after decade after decade?
Well, if he has regular elections and they keep voting for him, then potentially. But I've talked about this particular country here in the UK, lowest vote share ever, yet largest parliamentary majority, and ruling in, I think, an undemocratic manner.
I don't think we should question the democratic legitimacy of the Starmer government.
No, I'm just saying that I don't think that the way that they're ruling is very democratic. I don't like it.
But we have the opportunity to, in 4 years' time, vote them out of office.
4 years, Oh, could you imagine? Some other countries have 7 years. God help us, 7 years.
Well,
There'll be nothing left.
Cameroon is a 7-year term. So if he's 92 upon his election, he could be 99 by the time he leaves office, assuming he fills out his full term.
Well, they said it will be his 100th year, so he won't be 100 at the time after 7 years, but it would be the year that he would turn 100.
Yeah, so and judging by past electoral performance, perhaps he'd win the next election as well.
Do you think?
Go up to 106.
Where is he? Is he in that picture there? Because I want to see what he looks like. I mean, is that him there, the shorter guy?
I think it might well be the shorter.
He looks good, doesn't he?
He does look sprightly 92.
He looks a bit like my dad, to be honest. They all sort of shrink and look a little bit like that.
Yeah, I wonder what the demands are for a Cameroonian president. I hope he gets enough sleep.
But he looks well. I mean, he's moving around.
He is moving around. If I were to look at him, I would not think 92 years old, I'll tell you that.
See, and anyway, age is only a number. It's how you feel.
Yeah, we've had some old prime ministers in the past.
Who's been the
Gladstone was pretty old. And this was in the late 1800s, so, old was really old. I feel like he was in his 70s or 80s by the time. Yeah, and especially in the Victorian era.
He did not live for long then. 35 was the average age then.
But we seem to have had a sort of running order of young prime ministers.
Well, Jeremy Corbyn's still throwing his hat in the ring.
Yeah.
How old is he?
Although no one's going to beat Pitt the younger, who I think was 26 when he became Prime Minister.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, stay with us. This is Good Afternoon Britain. Lots more coming up on today's show. Do not go anywhere. But first, let's take a look at the weather.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's a bright but blustery day for many of us. Sunny spells but also frequent showers. We've seen a weather front pass through the UK. That tends to slow down and stall through the channel during the rest of the day before another front moves in overnight, bringing more prolonged rain, but in between, westerly winds and showery conditions for many. The most frequent showers will be across the north and west of Scotland, Northern Ireland, northwest England, parts of West Wales, some heavy downpours, perhaps even some rumbles of thunder towards the west of Scotland with these frequent showers, all accompanied by a strong breeze, that wind gusty over northern hills in particular. But there will be some places where we avoid the showers: the Midlands, East Anglia, the south and southeast, seeing plenty of sunny spells and feeling pleasant enough here with lighter winds, temperatures close to average. But across much of Scotland, the showers increase overnight with some heavy downpours, even some more prolonged rain pushing in from the west. Likewise for Northern Ireland, some heavy downpours arriving through the evening, those then pushing into northern England and North Wales. Further south, drier for a time through the evening, but you can see the cloud becoming thick once again across the southwest of England. And this area of rain, the next weather front moving in, initially across parts of Wales, late evening, and then after midnight that blossoms across a large part of the Midlands, the southwest of England, and we'll see some showers moving into the southeast. Clearer spells for northern England, Northern Ireland, as well as much of Scotland. In between, some heavy showers, but where we get those clear spells and lighter winds overnight, it'll be a chilly start on Wednesday, perhaps a few mist and fog patches first thing across northern parts of the UK. Otherwise, bright spells and showers once again, but we do have this area of rain initially across central parts and then sinking into the southeast by the afternoon. A cloudy and damp day. Here, 14 Celsius, cooler but staying fairly blustery and showery further north.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps four, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Tuesday, the 28th of October. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Nana Akua.
Well, one man is dead and 2 others, including a 14-year-old boy, are in hospital after a triple stabbing in West London. The 22-year-old Afghan national has now been arrested on suspicion of murder. We'll have all the very latest live from Uxbridge.
Hundreds of migrants are set to move into army barracks to end the costly use of asylum hotels. But what do local communities make of it? We'll be live in East Sussex, where one side could open as soon as November.
Elsewhere, the Labour Party slumped to its lowest rating yet. A shock new YouGov poll puts Sir Keir Starmer's party neck and neck with the Tories as reform surges ahead. Is Labour's vote share simply collapsing?
How long have you known about Andrew and Epstein? Have you asked the police to cover up for Andrew?
A royal visit turns tense. King Charles was heckled by a protester demanding answers over Prince Andrew's links to Jeffrey Epstein during a cathedral appearance in Staffordshire.
Elsewhere, Hurricane Melissa bears down on Jamaica, now a Category 5 monster. Forecasters warn it could be the strongest storm ever to hit the island. We'll be watching live as it does. We'll have all the latest.
So, loads to get through this hour, loads to talk about, and in particular the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, because I am quite concerned about some of the ideas that she's sort of coming up with. And I'm wondering who's next and what is next.
Well, there seems to be an ever-growing black hole at the heart of the Treasury. Last year it was £22 billion. We spoke at the start of this show to the economist Julian Jessop, who was forecasting it could be up to £40 billion. That's almost twice as large as the black hole allegedly was last year. What on earth's gone wrong?
Do you think that she has not filled the hole and then made another big hole, or has she filled the hole and then there's £2 billion around, or it's actually £40 billion now, the whole thing? So she never filled the first hole in the first place?
Well, let's be real what we mean when we talk about a black hole. I mean, if the black hole is filled, we don't have a balanced budget, far from it. This is about the amount of debt that Rachel Reeves allows herself to take on each year. She makes up these fiscal rules, they're called, and the country sticks to these fiscal rules. So actually, when we talk about a black hole, it's the debt over and beyond the debt that she has allowed herself to accrue.
Wow.
So even if she has a black hole of zero, we're still in the red.
Yeah,
we're not in the black.
quite seriously.
So we're still borrowing a lot of money.
And also the interest payments. I mean, we're only just keeping the payments level. So that is really concerning.
Well, we're expecting
100% of GDP.
We're expecting extra spending to go to those interest payments. So we're going to be raising tax, not for better services, not for lower tax, or not for anything that you'd want to spend money on. It's just on the extra interest costs of the gargantuan amount of debt this country's taken on.
Frightening. Well, listen, stay with us, loads more still to come. gbnews.com/your say. We'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments. But first, let's get your latest news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Nana, thank you. The top stories. A man has died after 3 people were stabbed in London. Police were called to Midhurst Gardens in Uxbridge at 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Met Police sources have told GB News the suspect is an Afghan national. The 22-year-old was arrested on suspicion of murder and attempted murder. Chief Superintendent Jill Horsfall, who leads the policing in Uxbridge, says this was a shocking and senseless act of violence. Our thoughts with the victim's family and friends. A 49-year-old man was treated for stab wounds at the scene but died of his injuries. Another man, aged 45, suffered life-changing injuries and is currently being treated in hospital. A 14-year-old boy was also injured in the stabbing, but police said his injuries were neither life-threatening nor life-changing. GB News' Home and Security editor Mark White spoke to an eyewitness.
They were shouting at them to drop their weapon. They were saying, "Arm, please, drop your weapon." And the guy had his arms up, but he was walking backwards, sort of towards me, with his back towards me down this road.
Could you see the weapon?
Yeah, in his right hands. He had it held up, quite a big weapon, I'd say about that big, I guess, from distance. And yeah, he was backing towards me. The police just kept shouting very loudly, "Arm, please, drop your weapon, and he didn't. So they tasered him, and he fell down onto my right here. just on the pavement where he stayed, really. I think he had some medical attention, but there was just complete chaos around here.
In other news, thousands of small boat migrants will be moved out of hotels and into old army barracks. The government saying this afternoon that migrants will move in by Christmas. Discussions are underway over the use of two sites, one in Scotland, the other in the south of England, for accommodation for 900 men, as first reported in The Times. It's understood the Prime Minister has instructed Home Office and Ministry of Defence officials to accelerate work to locate appropriate military sites. Downing Street has rejected suggestions it hadn't moved quickly enough to grasp the migrant crisis. The move comes as the Home Secretary says she is absolutely furious that hotels are still being used to house people coming into the country illegally. Shadow Cabinet Office Minister Alex Burghardt spoke to GB News.
When we left office, when the Conservatives left office last summer, we had the Rwanda plan in place, and the first thing that Keir Starmer did when he became Prime Minister was scrap it. The first thing he did was scrap a deterrent programme which would have meant that people who crossed the channel illegally, came to our country illegally, their feet wouldn't have touched the ground, they would have been sent to a third country for processing. That would have been a major deterrent to the gangs and to the people crossing. Instead, Labour tore that up. And here's the result. They're having to use army barracks, having to use massive army barracks to house thousands and thousands of people who've come to the country.
British tourists in Jamaica have been told to prepare as the island's strongest storm on record closes in. The Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office has set up a crisis centre ready to help Britons on the Caribbean island, and the Royal Navy ship HMS Trent is already in the region on standby. Hurricane Melissa will hit Jamaica today as a Category 5 storm, the strongest for the island since record-keeping began 174 years ago. All of Jamaica's international airports have been closed until further notice. The Red Cross says 1.5 million people are to be impacted in Jamaica. The storm has already killed 3 people there and 4 deaths in Haiti as well, and the Dominican Republic. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper is urging Britons in Jamaica to follow the UK Foreign Office travel advice and also the Jamaican government's instructions.
Well, this is a very serious storm and many people will be concerned about friends and family in Jamaica and in the region. We've set up the crisis centre here in the Foreign Office to provide 24-hour consular assistance to British nationals, but also to monitor Hurricane Melissa and to make sure we are ready and stand ready to provide UK support to Jamaica. I've spoken to the Jamaican Foreign Minister to offer our support and solidarity to the Jamaican people as they face the storm, and I would encourage everyone to follow both the Foreign Office's travel advice and the instructions from the Jamaican government.
And finally, John Cleese has described his on-screen wife and Fawlty Towers co-star as a really wonderful comic actress, adding scene after scene she was absolutely perfect. Actress Prunella Scales, best known for her role as Sybil, has died at the age of 93. Her sons Samuel and Joseph say she died peacefully at home in London yesterday. This year marked 50 years since the comedy show first appeared on screens. Prunella had been diagnosed with vascular dementia in 2013. Those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more from me in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of the markets. The pound buying you $1.3271 and €1.1412 euros. The price of gold, £2,960, 84 pence per ounce. The FTSE 100 is at 9,707 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain, I should say. It's 9 minutes past 2. But a serious story now. A 22-year-old Afghan national has been arrested over a triple stabbing, which left a 49-year-old man dead in Uxbridge.
Our Home and Security Editor Mark White joins us now live from the scene. Mark, what more can you tell us?
Well, of course, the confirmation, that major breaking development within the last half hour, the confirmation that the 22-year-old suspect is indeed an Afghan national. We're still trying to ascertain from authorities, from the Home Office, as to what his status in the country was, but we're told that there is an HMO, a house of multiple occupancy, further up the street there, just where there is that blue forensic tent, the scene of the location where the 49-year-old man who was stabbed succumbed to his injuries and died. Another two people, 45-year-old man and a 14-year-old boy, were also stabbed. A short while ago, I spoke to Ben James, a local resident here, who was quickly on scene after the events unfolded, saw some pretty awful sights. This is what he told us a short time ago. Ben, tell us what you saw last night when you first became aware that something had unfolded here.
So when I come here last night, I actually come with a friend. I saw it on one of my friends has sent me that someone's been stabbed down Midhurst Gardens in Hillingdon. I was only 3 roads away, so I pulled up with a friend yesterday, and there was 2 guys on the floor bleeding quite heavy. And I know a few people on the road that have come out and said it was a HMO property. A man has come out of a HMO property, had an altercation with one guy, stabbed him. Another dog walker has walked past and he's been stabbed too. And there was a third male, but I didn't see. And then next thing I knew, the tent was up. And just the local area is horrified, really. It's getting scary.
And you've been told that in that HMO was an Afghan man that may be the suspect.
Correct. There was a man outside the property of Afghan descent coming out of the HMO property. I know someone on the road, like I said, there was quite loud shouting and screaming, but when I got to the scene, all I saw was piles of blood.
And obviously, I mean, it must have been very traumatic to see injured people lying in the street.
It's horrible, but it's what we're getting used to around here. It's happening far too much, and the government needs to put an end to it.
And I mean, in terms of this local area, you live locally to see this kind of really horrific event unfolding in the local area as well. I mean, obviously, it's got to be distressing.
It's very distressing, but what's worse about it? Well, it's not becoming shocking no more. It's like becoming the norm, and that's what's really terrifying. If this happened 5-6 years ago, everyone would be screaming, it'd be uproar, but now it's just becoming like the normal, and that's what's scary about it, really scary.
And obviously, where we are just under the Heathrow flight path is, you can hear there. I mean, you said there's an HMO down there, are there quite a number of asylum seekers in this area, the other HMOs here?
There's a lot of HMO properties, but we're unaware of where they could be. I suppose they're quite hidden nowadays, but in the borough there's lots. But this side of the borough, it's slowly getting there, but other sides of the borough, sort of West Drayton area, Useley area, it's getting really bad.
Okay, Ben James, thanks very much for speaking to us. Well, some more breaking news to bring you, and that is government sources now confirming to GB News that 22-year-old suspect, an Afghan national, is not a small boat migrant. He did not come across the English Channel in a small boat, according to those sources. But we're still working to try to establish whether indeed he was an asylum seeker. Of course, because we know that Afghans arrive by other means, in the backs of lorries, sometimes on flights through student visas and the like, or whether he may have arrived here under the Afghan resettlement scheme. As I say, there was a house of multiple occupancy up there, and eyewitnesses, as you heard there from Ben James, suggesting the local residents here that he had come out of that HMO and there was some kind of disturbance in the street followed by those stabbings. I spoke as well a short time ago to Paul O'Brien, another local resident who arrived here just moments after the stabbing to see the suspect being arrested by the police. This is what he told us.
They were shouting at them to drop their weapon. They were saying, "Armed police, drop your weapon." And the guy had his arms up, but he was walking backwards, sort of towards me, with his back towards me down this road.
Could you see the weapon?
Yeah, in his right hands. He had it held up, quite a big weapon. I'd say about that big, I guess, from distance. And yeah, he was backing towards me. The police just kept shouting very loudly, "Armed police, drop your weapon, drop your weapon." And he didn't. So they tasered him, and he fell down onto my right here. Just on the pavement where he stayed, really. I think he had some medical attention, but there was just complete chaos around here.
Well, we can tell you that that 22-year-old suspect was taken to hospital. He was medically examined but found to be uninjured after having been tasered. He is now in police custody, being held on suspicion of murder and of attempted murder.
All right, Mark White, thank you very much. We'll keep you updated on this breaking story.
Absolutely. It does seem to be a real issue around this particular area. People who arrive in by plane, perhaps as a tourist, perhaps for other reasons, as soon as you're on British soil, you can claim asylum. That's why people come across by small boat. They want to get on British soil, then they can claim asylum. Another route to do that is by aeroplane. Now, we don't know if he was an asylum seeker.
Yeah, I was going to say, we don't know whether he was an asylum seeker.
But it's not a surprise that there's a lot of people around Heathrow Airport, which is where this area is.
Well, we don't know the full details of exactly how he got here or any of that, but we will bring you all of that as soon as we have it.
In other news, thousands of small boat migrants will be moved out of hotels and into old army barracks.
Now, the plans will see the use of two barracks in Scotland and East Sussex and will temporarily house 900 men from next month. Does that sound like a publicity stunt to you, or does it sound like a good idea?
Well, joining us now is the Liberal Democrat councillor for Crowborough, Gareth Owen Williams. Gareth, thanks for joining us. What do the locals feel about this proposal?
It's mixed. There are concerns. As you can imagine, social media's been swamped by it today. But there's also a lot of people saying, let's not panic, let's see what happens, and approach with an open mind.
Now, do you know whether these people will be actually detained in this barracks, or will they be allowed to move freely through the village? I think it's a village.
I don't think asylum seekers are detained. I don't think that's ever been the case, because obviously what they're doing is they've approached us and they're waiting a long, long time, sadly too long, for their cases to be heard. So as far as I understand, they are able to go wherever they want to, presumably within certain grounds.
Would you rather that they were detained rather than being able to move freely as you don't know who they are?
I think you don't know who anybody is. I mean, if you walk through London, it's a multicultural society. You don't know who's with you, and 99% of the time you're absolutely safe. So I don't really see. I think we have to trust the Home Office and the security forces to keep us safe. And if they thought people should be locked up, then they would do that. But I imagine if they allow people to be walking around, then they must know what they're doing.
We have seen some cases. Hang on, we have seen some cases around these hotels where migrants have been placed, where there have been documented cases, convicted cases of sexual assault, cases of rape as well. We've seen around some of these hotels where there's a high concentration of undocumented young men. I mean, it stands to reason that if there's a high concentration of young men who have come into the country illegally, thrown away their documentation, there could be crime that comes with that too.
Yeah, there could be, but I think there are people who've made it their business to collect every case they can, and they're ignoring all the cases that happen in normal society, all the other crimes that happen. I think there's very little balanced kind of views out there. Everyone's kind of got an agenda, and I'm not sure there's a higher rate of offence caused by migrants than anyone else.
I think there was some study that showed that there was a disproportionate amount in terms of sex offences. So, you know, for those in some of these accommodations. So I think there has been some research, but it's not that people don't want to house people if people are seeking refuge. It's just that we know that they've come by illegal means, so they're there in this country and they've paid smugglers to get here. And so there may be a level of criminality, and that's why people would rather... I suspect people in that area are saying that they would rather these people were at least detained until you knew who they were.
Can I just question the illegal means? Because my understanding is, by international law, if they turn up on the beach and they immediately say, I'd like to apply for asylum, that's not breaking the law. Am I wrong in that?
Yes, but the crossing is, but then once they say they want asylum, then yes, then, you know... But you're not really allowed to cross the channel, are you? Like that.
No, the government very much says. Well, the previous government passed the Nationality and Borders Act, which made the act of crossing by small boat illegal. Granted, this government repealed that act. Yeah. So yes, in some ways they did legalise that small boat crossing. But of course, the previous law was always in tension with the 1951 UN Convention on Refugees, which allows people to claim asylum once they arrive in any given country and stand foot on that soil. I wonder, though. Do you really think that the locals that you represent would be as blasé to the risks as you appeared to be?
As I say, it seems mixed. There are some people who are saying, let's not judge anybody, let's wait and see, let's give people a fair chance. And there's a few people who are saying the opposite. I think we had Afghans in that camp until a year ago, and the people at Crowborough were very, very welcoming in general. The barbershop I use, we're giving them discounts. They joined the local cricket team. We had no problems that I'm aware of at all. And
were those Afghans who came across legally under the ARAP scheme?
Yes, it's a different. I appreciate that. What I'm saying is, I did see the best of Crowborough. We did open our arms. In a lot of cases, people were taking blankets and things to the camp. I did see the best of the people that I live with. So I appreciate it's not going to be everybody's view, but I think it is good when people can actually have an open mind.
All right, well, that's good to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much. That is the Lib Dem councillor for Crowborough, Gareth Owen Williams.
Well, it's time for the Great British Giveaway now, and indeed time is ticking. Only a few days left, 3, I think, from memory. So let's hear how to make it yours.
There's just 3 days to see how you could win big, with a prize worth over £104,000. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. Worth over £74,000, this luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. The coming year could be your best yet, but hurry, get your entry in now. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, a same-day prostate cancer diagnosis. Could it be a game-changer for men's health? That coming up in a bit, but after the break...
Labour slumps to its lowest rating yet. A shock new YouGov poll puts Sir Keir Starmer's party neck and neck with the Tories as reform surges ahead.
Well, all of that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
only on GB News.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It is 26 minutes after 2 o'clock. And now there's more bad news for the government as Labour have hit a record low in the polls.
Yes, a new survey by YouGov has found that just 17% of voters would back the Labour Party if a general election were held today. This puts Labour just 1 point ahead of the Greens, who are enjoying a new surge in support under a new leader, Zach Polanski.
So is there anything Labour can do to turn this around? Well, we're joined now by our political editor, Christopher Hope, to tell us more. So this is very bad for the Labour Party.
The bad news carries on from last Friday's Caerphilly by-election result for the Welsh Senedd. Those numbers are striking. Reform UK up 1 point to 27%, Labour down 3 to 17%, the same as the Tories, unchanged. Greens up 1% to 16%, Lib Dems unchanged at 15%. To put a different way, Labour and the Tories are just 2 points off the fifth place in the polls. The government could be fifth in the polls if this carries on. Now, this polling was carried out this week on Sunday and Monday. The YouGov tell us that this figure of 17% is the lowest they've ever had Labour on. The Green score is their highest. It's unusual to have four parties within 2 points of each other, to say the least. Labour are now at 17 points. That's half where they were in July last year, when they won 34% of the vote. And that landslide, some call it a shallow landslide because of the lack of support from the wider country for the party, even though it won. Half of all voters have therefore deserted the Labour Party. Labour appears caught in the crossfire, to be honest with you, Nana and Tom, between the Greens, Reform and Lib Dems. The Greens are eating away at the left of the party, Reform are pulling them to the right, and the Lib Dems are taking in moderate supporters, and it's almost like a kind of bait ball being bitten away by tuna in one of those David Attenborough films. Where does Labour go from here? It's a very, very difficult position, and that may be why we're seeing stronger language today about the migrant hotels. Number 10 telling us today in terms they understand the anger about migrant hotels and how it can't carry on like this. They say that it's not fair that people can be put up in some form of luxury. They say the public has lost faith in the hotels. There shouldn't be an entitlement to luxury sites for people who arrive here illegally, and that's why they're saying they'll move people from hotels into army camps before Christmas. So there's stronger language now on migrant hotels as they try and seize back the initiative in the poll race.
Interesting stuff. Well, Christopher Hope, thanks indeed for joining us live from Westminster. Let's continue this conversation now with the former Labour advisor, Paul Richards. Paul, it does seem that the Labour government has fallen faster than just about any government in not even living memory, but before then too. I mean, this point after a general election, it's pretty bad.
Well, the opinion poll snapshot
today is pretty bad. That's fair. But I think it's also fair to say that the government's taken quite a lot of difficult and tough decisions that are unpopular right now, with a view to turning around the economy and rebuilding public services, which will be popular as we get nearer a general election in 4 years' time. I'd pick up the point about the announcement on asylum hotels and the closing them down, though, because I don't think that's to do with electoral politics at all. I think that's just the right thing to do, because the hotel policy is an absolute disaster. And it's funny, you can't find anyone now that thinks it's a good idea, but certainly not the Conservative ministers that introduced it, who are now shadow ministers. It's a catastrophe.
Well, funny enough, Paul,
so they need
I
to
mean,
be
the
closed.
Treasury argued in favour of it as it was cheaper than the other options. I mean, it sounds extraordinary, but but because of the legislative sort of minimum standards that we have to provide for asylum seekers, hotels were genuinely cheaper than other forms of accommodation. It sounds staggering, but it's true.
I mean, I think the profiteering that has gone on and the mismanagement of the contracts. I mean, I'd love to see if there was a way to claw back some of this public money from these profiteering hoteliers in particular, some of whom have made millions off the back of this policy by just extending contracts and just, adding zeros to their bill. And civil servants have mismanaged those contracts. But also the original policy was a bad policy. Like I say, everyone's running a mile now. So now we've got the controversy, of course, about the army camps. And local MPs are already saying, well, we don't want the hotels, but we don't want the army camps either. And I think we have to pick a lane here. While we're sorting out the backlog of applications, people have to be put somewhere. And I think the idea of putting them into disused barracks, and one of them will be near me in East Sussex, so I'm saying it's going to affect local people, but I think that is a better option than these flashpoint hotels that are costing millions, billions, as Nana says, billions of pounds. Absolutely absurd situation we find ourselves in. But opening the camps, getting them used. These are not, we're not displacing the armed forces. These are disused camps at the moment. The one in East Sussex was already used for Afghan refugees, so it has had that use before. And I think that's best of a bad bunch, really. It's a better option than the hotels.
I think the problem people have, the main problem, and it feels like the government are overlooking it, is that we don't know who the people are who are coming, especially if they're coming via a small boat. And so we don't know enough about them. They're not vetted before they enter the hotel, really, not properly. And then they're able to roam free. And that is, I think, the issue. Are your government likely to look into that and potentially maybe detain these people in some way? Now, they won't be in prison, because I know that's part of the Refugee Convention. They can't look like they've been imprisoned. However, they should be put in a place that is secure, because otherwise we could have more repetition of the kind of things that we're seeing. And I'm not saying all small boat migrants are bad.
Well, I think there's two things on that. One is we need a much more robust system of ID. And again, howls of outrage when the government suggested an ID card system. But I think that would help with at least some of it.
But that might not apply to the small boat migrants. That would apply to all of us.
I mean, criminals will always try and get around any system.
Exactly.
I think the law-abiding ones will have an ID and will know who they are. I think that's a good step forward. I know it's controversial.
Sorry,
but
how would the ID system help unless you were to do spot checks on people out and about on their daily business?
Because you've still got to work out who they are to make the ID card. So at that point, you'd know who they are. But we don't do any of that anyway. So I don't see. And if we can't,
well, I think it would be a system of identification which would help. And I don't want spot checks, but if people are going for jobs or whatever within the black economy and so on, they'd be proved that they are ineligible to work and so on. So I think that's an important part.
Well, we have those checks when people get jobs now anyway. You need your national insurance number.
Well, this is an argument about ID cards, which I'm sorry if I flagged that up. But I mean, I know I did. Yeah, absolutely. And it is part of the ongoing solution, I believe. But more importantly, I think, is having more useful activities for people in these camps to actually do.
What do we pay for? Like art classes and all that sort of thing?
No, I think like litter picking, sorting out graffiti, going out in high vis, under supervision, and actually doing some good works in the community.
You don't know who they are.
People will be far more accepted then if people can see them doing something useful. And it's also better for them, those young people particularly, to be doing something useful anyway, because being banged up in a camp with nothing else to do for month after month is detrimental to anyone's well-being.
I wonder how the ECHR would treat that, though. Does that not sound like cruel and unusual punishment, given that that's what we make people who commit crimes do?
It could be exploitation.
It could be, but I think it'd probably just be useful works, and I think it's an idea worth looking at, because I think in the situation where we just have all of these people doing nothing, and then it does lead to the kind of problems, even the very worst instances of murder and so on that we've seen. It's because people are just nothing to do day after day after day. It's absolutely terrible. So I think finding better ways out of it. But the camps is a good start, and I welcome the government's decision. Like I say, it won't be easy, and the MPs are already saying where there is going to be one of these camps are saying, oh well, yeah, but not in my backyard. But I think as a nation, we just have to get the hotels closed, speed up the asylum applications, and put people in the camps that are not being used currently as a good way forward.
And detain them. I think a lot of people will be happy with the camps around them, but they could be doing useful things. They'll be detained and then taken out to do certain jobs and brought back to make sure that they're... I don't know, I just think it's almost saying, yeah, just keep coming in and we'll find ways to accommodate you, instead of creating some sort of deterrent. Is there a deterrent for these people from your government? What is it, if there is?
Well, disrupting the business model where people are making an awful lot of money off this human misery is another way as well. And you know what I'm going to say now, but smashing the gangs is more than a slogan, because you do need to disrupt those criminal elements, those organised crime gangs, in all the different ways. But I'll say the thing I always say when you ask me this, which is if there was a single, simple thing that we would do that would stop it overnight, any government of whatever stripe would have done it by now. There isn't a single, simple answer. People come up with all kinds of stuff and say, well, let's put gunboats in the Channel and whatever else it might be, or detainment camps for Alsatians. But that won't work. Well, that wouldn't have worked either, would it? Because it was just a massively expensive and a folly which didn't really...
Well, America are using it now, aren't they?
Well, I think they've closed their Alcatraz type arrangement, and I'm not sure we want to go down the American route, to be honest.
OK, well, Paul Richards, former Labour advisor, thanks indeed for joining us and talking through that wide-ranging assessment of Labour's position in the polls.
Thank you. Right, lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, same-day prostate cancer diagnosis. Could it be a game-changer for men's health?
All that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's a bright but blustery day for many of us. Sunny spells but also frequent showers. We've seen a weather front pass through the UK. That tends to slow down and stall through the Channel during the rest of the day before another front moves in overnight, bringing more prolonged rain. But in between, westerly winds and showery conditions for many. The most frequent showers will be across the north and west of Scotland, Northern Ireland, northwest England, parts of West Wales, some heavy downpours, perhaps even some rumbles of thunder towards the west of Scotland with these frequent showers, all accompanied by a strong breeze. That wind gusty over northern hills in particular, but there will be some places where we avoid the showers. The Midlands, East Anglia, the south and southeast, seeing plenty of sunny spells and feeling pleasant enough here with lighter winds, temperatures close to average. But across much of Scotland, the showers increase overnight with some heavy downpours, even some more prolonged rain pushing in from the west. Likewise for Northern Ireland, some heavy downpours arriving through the evening, those then pushing into northern England and North Wales. Further south, drier for a time through the evening, but you can see the cloud becoming thick once again across the southwest of England. And this area of rain, the next weather front moving in, initially across parts of Wales, late evening, and then after midnight that blossoms across a large part of the Midlands, the southwest of England, and we'll see some showers moving into the southeast. Clearer spells for northern England, Northern Ireland, as well as much of Scotland. In between, some heavy showers, but where we get those clear spells and lighter winds overnight, it'll be a chilly start on Wednesday, perhaps a few mist and fog patches first thing across northern parts of the UK. Otherwise, bright spells and showers once again, but we do have this area of rain initially across central parts and then sinking into the southeast by the afternoon. A cloudy and damp day. Here, 14 Celsius, cooler but staying fairly blustery and showery further north.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The M8 Junction 6 on-slip westbound is closed for maintenance. Expect diversions and longer journey times. Congestion between A5121 Burton-upon-Trent North and A5132 on A38 northbound causes a 10-minute delay. In Hampshire, a broken down vehicle on A34 northbound between A303 and A343 has closed one lane. All southbound lanes are shut at junction 2 of the M69 in Leicestershire due to a collision. And on the trains, East Midlands Railway is experiencing delays between London St Pancras International and Luton. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 20 minutes to 3, and men with suspected prostate cancer will be able to get an NHS diagnosis within a day. That's all part of a new trial.
Artificial intelligence will be used to interpret MRI scans, meaning problematic lesions can be detected in a matter of minutes.
Well, NHS England says that technology will be trialled in up to 15 hospitals around the country, to begin with, that is, and this approach could save men months of waiting.
Well, one person with personal experience of prostate cancer is the former Conservative MP, Sir Michael Fabricant, and he joins us now. Michael, so tell us a little bit about your what happened with you and whether this is welcome news.
Well, it's certainly welcome news. What happened with me, and happened to many other men as well, was I went on a well-manned project, which is operated by my local GP here in Lichfield, and they found that my PSA, which is prostate-specific antigen level, was a little bit high. It was running at about 14 or 16. When I went to med school, that actually wasn't so high, but nowadays that is considered high. And so I went for an investigation, including an MRI. They thought there was something going on, but the decision was eventually that as I was pretty fit, don't smoke, low blood pressure and all the rest of it, it would be better out than in. So they took it all out. Can I just say, there's two ways of doing an operation. One is laparoscopic, which is keyhole surgery, which is very quick in hospital, but can leave you with some permanent life-changing problems, which I won't go into now in the mid-afternoon. Or you could do what I opted for, which is a full open operation. I was in hospital for 6 days, which meant that all my working bits and pieces still work, with one exception. I can't have kids. But as I didn't want kids, it didn't matter too much. But early diagnosis for cancer is always important.
And it does seem that this new method might be more cost-effective than what has been the case up until now. I know MRI scans are incredibly expensive, and often the waiting lists can be enormous. I mean, if this can be done more simply and more cheaply for men up and down the country, more people will likely be able to have a successful experience like you have.
Yeah, but it still requires an MRI scan. What the AI diagnosis does is look very quickly at the radiological scan, or the MRI scan to be precise, and determines quickly or not, without a radiologist looking at it, whether there's something or not to be worried about. You know, people are very worried about AI. Actually, I think in medicine, it's very good news indeed. There's so many things where a GP, let alone a consultant, has to make judgments. And if AI can do it more quickly, more accurately, and certainly more cheaply, that has to be good news.
Yeah, very good news indeed, Michael, and really good to hear that you are recovered and well, and it was a success.
Well, you know me, Nana. You know I'm very fit and well.
You are very fit and well, looking well as well, looking very well.
Absolutely, no. All the best, Michael. Thanks indeed, and very good to speak to you. This is, of course, Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and there's plenty more still to come on today's programme, not least the travel weather. Let's have a look.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Many parts of southern Europe are going to have a fine day tomorrow, albeit there are a few showers here and there. And actually across parts of Portugal and Spain, heavy thundery rain pushing through here. There's the potential for 50 to 100 millimetres of rain in just a day or so, which is around the average for October. But further east, like I said, a lot of dry weather to be had. But worth noting, some showery rain pushing its way eastwards across parts of Cyprus, though this doesn't look especially heavy. More fine weather for most as we go through the end of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It is 13 minutes to 3, if we want to be very precise about it all. And you've been getting in touch on all the stories we've been talking about today, but particularly where migrants should be housed.
Lots of you saying different ideas here. Bernadette says putting migrants in detention centres would be a good deterrent if they were responsible for their own cleaning, laundry and litter picking of the grounds. That'd give them something to do. Good point. Having a vegetable garden to grow their own food and tent would keep them occupied. They could learn the laws and expectations of this country for when they get to leave to remain. Yeah. That's actually a good idea, isn't it?
Interesting. I wonder how many human rights laws would put a stop to that, though.
You can't make them cook for themselves.
The ECHR would be on that very quickly indeed.
They can't use the equipment. Oh. They could burn themselves or...
Goodness me. Well, Rosemary has been in touch to say that the Scottish barracks, because the government has sort of highlighted a few barracks around the country, one of them is in Scotland, and Rosemary says the Scottish barracks is in Inverness. They'll freeze their whatsits off. So perhaps that won't be one of the ones that the government goes ahead with pursuing.
Other things, let's see. Somebody said, Tom Harwood, you may well be an intelligent man, but how dare you talk over Nana?
We take it in turns.
I talk over him sometimes too.
Oh, goodness me.
We definitely take it in turns.
Roadrunner says that Michael Fabricant was lucky he got the scan. Someone calling himself Roadrunner got a rather more invasive check, which can sometimes, I think, scare men off.
Scare most people off.
But let's hope more scans can be rolled out.
All right, well, listen, a quick update on the 22-year-old Afghan national who's been arrested over the triple stabbing which left a 49-year-old man dead in Uxbridge. Home and Security editor Mark White joins us now. Mark, what more can you tell us?
Well, just in the last half hour, we've had a bit of activity here in terms of forensic teams who have come in to carry out a very detailed analysis, search off the crime scene itself, along with forensic sniffer dogs who've come in and have been searching up and down this street in all of the front gardens, looking for any evidence as well. And in addition to that, plainclothes officers have been knocking on the doors of residents, clearly to take more detailed witness statements a day on from the horrific incident that unfolded at tea time here yesterday, in which we are told from the eyewitnesses that we've interviewed so far today that a man emerged from an HMO, a house of multiple occupancy, further up the street here. A 22-year-old man who authorities have confirmed to us is an Afghan national, that some kind of disturbance followed, and then a number of individuals were stabbed. A 49-year-old man was stabbed multiple times and died at the scene despite the efforts of the paramedics to save that individual. Another man, 45 years old, suffered serious stab wounds and, according to the Metropolitan Police, has suffered life-changing injuries. A 14-year-old boy was also stabbed but was less seriously injured. A little earlier I spoke to Paul O'Brien, who is a local resident here, and he spoke of the moments that this 22-year-old Afghan national, the suspect who's being held now on suspicion of murder and attempted murder, was arrested. This is what he told us.
They were shouting at them to drop their weapon. They were saying, "Arm, please, drop your weapon." And the guy had his arms up, but he was walking backwards, sort of towards me, with his back towards me down this road.
Could you see the weapon?
Yeah, in his right hand. He had it held up, quite a big weapon, I'd say about that big, I guess, from distance. And yeah, he was backing towards me. The police just kept shouting very loudly, "Arm, please, drop your weapon," and he didn't. So they tasered him, and he fell down onto my right here. Just on the pavement, where he stayed, really. I think he had some medical attention, but there was just complete chaos around here.
Well, clearly very, very alarming for the local residents here, and what is otherwise, I'm told, a fairly quiet and low level in terms of sort of criminal activity in this street. They've got some crime, but it's not the kind of area where people are particularly fearful. So it's the kind of incident which was deeply, deeply shocking. I spoke also a little earlier to another eyewitness called Ben James, who was here on the scene and saw the paramedics working on the injured and that dying man on the street, and he was speaking to some of his fellow neighbours who had seen this Afghan suspect come out of that HMO, and some kind of a disturbance that had taken place at that point there. They were aware here that there's an HMO that apparently houses migrants. What we're still trying to ascertain at this time is whether this Afghan migrant was an asylum seeker, where he might have been here on the Afghan resettlement scheme. He is not someone who, we're told, arrived on a small boat. That we can confirm.
All right, Mark White, thank you very much. We'll keep you updated on all of that. But we're sorry we couldn't bring you the story about the storm because our guests couldn't get a signal, which doesn't surprise me. But it is apparently entering Jamaica, and it's apparently supposed to weaken to a Category 4. But still a very devastating storm.
Yeah,
so
fingers crossed for everyone there.
Yeah,
absolutely. But yeah, understandably, perhaps that the signal For video conferencing isn't particularly strong in Jamaica as things stand.
Well, listen, it's been a pleasure as ever. Thank you so much for your company on Good Afternoon Britain. I'll be back later on for Dubes and Co.
And I'll be back tomorrow at midday. Don't go anywhere. Martin is up next here.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Some clear spells out there for the rest of today, staying blustery though with further showers in places, particularly towards the northwest. And then in the south, there will be some more steady rain coming along later as the next weather front moves in. That's initially going to affect parts of Wales before it spreads rain across much of the southern third of the UK. The northern two-thirds stay clear overnight, but with further showers. And in fact, the showers increase in frequency and intensity for Northern Ireland, much of Scotland and northern England during the early hours, with some flakes of snow falling on top of the hills and mountains of Scotland. Feeling chilly then across northern parts of the UK, a touch of frost and a few mist patches to start Wednesday. But further south, we've got this extensive area of cloud cover and outbreaks of rain that have moved in overnight across Wales, the Midlands and the southwest. First thing in the morning, though, we do have some heavy showery rain across the north and the west of Scotland in particular. You can see those flakes of snow over the tops of the mountains, and further showers pushing at this stage into Northern Ireland, just about avoiding Belfast early on, but they will eventually reach eastern parts of Northern Ireland as well as western areas. Northern England, West Wales also seeing a few showers, but there is an area of brighter skies developing across northern England, Wales, into the Midlands as we go into the afternoon as well, whilst it stays damp for the southwest and south of England. And that rain, well, it's going to be on and off. It's going to be light and patchy generally, but a damp afternoon expected in the southeast. A lot of cloud cover. It is looking brighter further north and further west as we end the afternoon, but a cluster of showers, some heavy downpours will affect central and southern Scotland as well as northern England. So an unsettled day for many, but as we go into the evening, it calms down a little, only ahead of the next system moving in on Thursday, bringing some persistent wet weather and some strong winds, particularly towards the west.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps four, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
I'm Martin Daubney. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
We have a very interesting guy in the studio called Will Whitehorn, who's a space expert. And the reason we've got Will in is that NASA have plans to send astronauts to live on the moon. And
It's not how you think, though, is it? It's inside glass bubbles that are going to be made from lunar dust.
OK.
Not in houses.
The American Space Agency is funding research to see if it is possible. And let's get Will, who does believe it's possible. And will you be going, Will?
Well, not to the moon, obviously.
No.
That's